Yeah, just.
Oh, here we go. We're live.
Google. Okay, at 12:33, I am calling to order the budget hearings for April 18th. This is our 3, 4, 5th day of budget hearings in the second week. And if we could get a roll call, please.
Certainly, Madam Chair. Councillor Cassett.
Here.
Councillor Lindell. Councillor Rivera. Councillor Villarreal.
Present.
Councillor Romero Worth.
I am here.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
All right, terrific. We have one budget with lots of different components, public utilities on our agenda today. So I'm public works, sorry. No, oops, I'm on the wrong day. Well, that's good. I did that. Let's catch up. Director Oster, there are no changes to this agenda.
No, Madam Chair, no changes from staff.
Okay, terrific. So if we could get a motion to approve the agenda.
Move to approve.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor, aye. Anybody opposed? That motion passes. In my opening remarks today, I just want to give the committee kind of a roadmap of where we're going. Next week, kind of some preliminary information. The capital budget, and Director Oster, am I referring to that correctly?
Madam Chair, you are. It's the allocation of funds for capital.
Okay.
It's a separate process for capital budgeting. So I just want to make sure there's not
Right.
confusion, but the capital allocation that's part of our base FY24 budget will be having a hearing on that next Wednesday.
Right. So I wanted to let everybody know, and the way that'll come to us is as an amendment. The resolution that was introduced at Finance on Monday has a placeholder in it. And the capital allocation will be presented to us. Hopefully we'll get it before that hearing, but we will discuss it on Wednesday. And it will be an amendment to the resolution that was adopted on Monday of this week. So just want to give the committee a heads up about that. And then I think it makes sense to consider any amendments to the operating budget on Thursday prior to the committee voting on the finances committee recommendation for the budget as a whole, basically adopting it and recommending to the governing body the package that we've been talking about last week, this week, and next week. So if you have amendments you want to make, you do need to request those through our normal process through legislative services. And then we'll go from there depending on what is being offered. So yeah, I think we'll go on. So with that, we'll go on to department review of budgets. And today we have Public Works and our Public Works Director, Regina Wheeler, who is flanked by a number of people. And I'm going to let you introduce the folks at the table and introduce the people behind you as necessary. I would ask, and I've been asking everybody to do this, recognize that those of us in the room and here on the dais may know who you are, but you are beaming out, being live streamed, and the people watching both now and later may not know who you are. So if you wouldn't mind, when you are called on to speak, just please, state your name and what you do for the city to help folks familiarize themselves with the breadth of people that make things happen. So with that, Director Wheeler, I will turn it over to you. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, members of the committee, Director Oster. I'm Regina Wheeler, the Public Works Director for the City of Santa Fe. We really appreciate this opportunity to spend time with you today presenting the Public Works Department fiscal year 24 budget, as well as some of our accomplishments and goals accomplishments from the past and goals for the future. I want to start by thanking the Finance Department for their work on this budget and all of our initiatives. Finance knows our complex business and financial picture, and we appreciate the collaboration to develop this excellent budget. And of course, thank you to the city councilors for your partnership and leadership in this work that we do for the city. Can you hear me okay? It's a little low.
Yeah, it is. And yeah, we do have one of our committee members, Councilwoman Villarreal, on Zoom. And so I just want to make sure that she's able to hear you. And you did seem like maybe you were talking without the mic. So sounds like they're going to correct that.
I actually could hear Director Wheeler pretty well on
Okay.
Zoom.
Terrific. Just trying to troubleshoot at the front end here. So thank you.
Okay, great. Oh, much better. Yes, terrifyingly loud.
Well, and actually, one other thing that I was advised by our IT staff yesterday is that if we have a fist between your mouth and the microphone, you will reduce the amount of feedback that the system experiences. So I think sometimes I talk too closely to the mic, and then there are others who step back too far. So I've been instructed that, you should be basically within a fist of between your mouth and the microphone.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, for the instructions. I am honored and excited to serve the city of Santa Fe and lead this public works team. And we're thrilled to have this opportunity to present to you today. I'm joined here at the table by the senior leaders in the Public Works Department, including Tomas Martinez, the Director of Transit and my co-director in the Complete Streets Division. We have James Harris, who is the city's new airport manager. Melissa McDonald, the Director of Parks and Open Space. Sam Burnett, the Director of Facilities. And Helona Crow, who is our Business Operations Manager for the department. And I'll talk more about each of these great leaders. We're also thrilled to be joined by a number of our team members behind us, and I'll be introducing some of them in my preamble, and the directors will introduce others as we go along. And I'm really excited for you to learn more about these team members and their accomplishments and meet them today as well. So thank you guys all for being here. Wow. Everybody. Oh, I don't even know that person sitting next to D'Alva. That's Rachel. Oh my God, nice to meet you. This is such a great opportunity to get together. All the accomplishments and capacities that we'll be discussing and presented in the budget book that we'll share with you today are the work of this great team of 360 extraordinary professionals, dedicated employees, and committed to the city's infrastructure. I'm so glad to have many leaders from this team with us today. If you would indulge me, Madam Chair, I'd like to start by recounting a bit of recent history that shows how key city initiatives have shaped the Public Works Department, people, roles, and structure that you see today. Building a city is a long-term process. Public Works both responds to immediate needs and holds the plans and projects that implement the vision for a vibrant, safe, and just city. These long-term initiatives require building capacity in the organization and processes, developing and executing long-range plans, securing and deploying funding, and continuously evolving processes and policies to meet best practices and community needs. These long-term initiatives take a huge effort and focus to implement to realize benefits for our community. The initiatives that I'll talk about include Midtown, the adoption of the Sustainable Santa Fe 25-year plan, the major reorganization of fiscal year 21, building capital program capacity in public works, professionalizing the administrative function, and expanding the airport. I think this background will make the department highlights on the slides even more meaningful and will give you a chance to meet the people working to achieve these broader initiatives. This is kind of fun because we get to go back in history. Some of you are here at the table for these and you'll recognize these stories. For some of you, they'll be new stories. In early 2019, the city was getting a grip on operating and maintaining the old College of Santa Fe campus. A steering committee of city leadership concluded that we needed to actively maintain and operate the campus to prevent degradation of the asset and avoid it becoming a nuisance property. Water pipes were bursting, threatening special collections and buildings, largely because all the HVAC systems had failed and the buildings had not been decommissioned. It was a zoo. There was rampant vandalism of the facilities at the campus. Sam Burnett, then a facilities project administrator, jumped in to get control of the campus. An operating budget was established to provide for building repairs, security, and other operating needs, and the property maintenance manager position was created, into which Sam was promoted. With Sam's leadership, the city gained an understanding of and the ability to manage the complex, antiquated, and highly regulated infrastructure on the campus. In early 2021, Sam was promoted again to be the facilities division director and maintained a dual role operating Midtown and the rail yard until recently, when the perfect person arrived to take over these responsibilities. I'd like to introduce Tim Farrell, who has joined the team as the property development manager responsible for Midtown and the rail yard. He brings extensive experience in property management, and Sam and Tim together now manage the operating budget, infrastructure, facilities, and the complex and dynamic relationships at Midtown and the rail yard. Public Works' ongoing involvement with Midtown, bringing it closer to today, includes providing infrastructure expertise to the development of the Midtown Master Plan. Sam, Melissa, and I participated in weekly meetings for the past few years to provide technical input to and review plans for Midtown civic infrastructure, including facilities, stormwater, parks and open space, and transportation networks. Now, at this point today, Public Works is developing scopes of work for RFPs to retain the technical expertise necessary to design and implement the infrastructure at Midtown. This has been a huge initiative, very important to the city, that has really been a huge undertaking for Public Works and shaped our department and our work. And we're happy to be involved and excited about the progress. The Sustainable Santa Fe Plan, 25-year plan. In late 2018, soon after I joined the city council adopted the Sustainable Santa Fe 25-year plan. The plan lists many initiatives which are necessary to achieve the goal of carbon neutrality by 2040. Public Works must drive many of the initiatives listed in the plan, including switching city operations to be powered by renewable energy, increasing efficiency in facilities and infrastructure, and fostering multimodal transportation through roadway and trail design and transit systems. For the 2019 legislative session, months after the Sustainable Santa Fe Plan was adopted, the governing body made the solarization project the #1 request. The project envisioned leveraging $1 million appropriation in a larger energy project. The solarization, water conservation, and energy efficiency accomplishments listed in the budget book came out of this $17 million renewable energy efficiency and water conservation project that is approximately 75% complete construction today. So we passed the plan in 2018, legislative appropriation in 2019, and here in 2023, we're 75% complete on construction. Some of these initiatives take a long-term focus and effort to achieve goals. MPO, the Metropolitan Planning Organization, which is in land use, is a huge partner of Public Works and really has been largely integrated right into our engineering and complete streets division. They produce concrete plans for multimodal transportation infrastructure that Public Works implements. All the buildings that are being built now by the facilities division and the city at large are LEED certified when they're over 10,000 square feet. And of course, our stormwater strategy has shifted to infiltration and beneficial utilization of our stormwater rather than just conduction of a problem to get it out of town. So these are a number of the initiatives that the Public Works is undertaking to achieve the goals of the Sustainable Santa Fe Plan. The next little piece of history that I wanted to bring into our memories again was COVID, of course, and the fiscal year 21 budget. It's important to remember that the vacancy rate we grapple with today has its origins in COVID and the subsequent Great Resignation. COVID hit in March 2020 during the development of the fiscal year 21 budget. GRT revenue was drastically and instantly reduced, and as a result of the shutdowns, that required a significantly reduced budget for the city in fiscal year 21. A major reorganization was approved in that budget that created the Community Development Department, created the Community Health and Safety Department, and moved parks into Public Works. This was an organizational structure that responded to evolving community demands at the time while increasing efficiencies to reduce costs. At the same time, in that budget, Public Works lost a director position that was reclassified, and another one was frozen. Months after that budget was passed and implemented, John Romero, the engineering director, traffic engineer, and right-hand person to the Public Works director, he had been acting a number of times, left the city to join DOT. That left us 3 empty division director positions at the time, and we got a new division that needed a division director. I have been the acting engineering division director since September 2020, and am now co-directing the Complete Streets division with Tomas Martinez. Since that time, Tomas has been acting streets director since 2020, and he has led transit, the largest division in Public Works, single-handedly during that time, where historically there have always been 2 directors, one of operations and one of administration. So I'd just like to really recognize Tomas Martinez at this time. He has been leading 2 operations with 7-day-per-week activities and sometimes 24-hour per day. He makes it look easy with his years of experience. And we just really appreciate his commitment and contribution. We could never have made it through these years without him. Key to his success, of course, is his team, and that includes Superintendent Felipe Trujillo, who leads the streets maintenance crews and has really largely been leading the streets effort while we've been acting. And I don't know if Felipe is here today, but we just really want to recognize him and all the streets crews for their excellent work, of course. The fiscal year 21 reorganization was also the origin of reinvigorating the Parks division. The hope of moving parks into Public Works was that with the opportunity to leverage the operational expertise and resources existing in the department, the division would be more successful. This has been the case. Parks and MRC have benefited from the operational know-how and teamwork in Public Works. We all know, however, that the superpower that has charged the success of this reorganization is Melissa McDonald, licensed landscape architect who was Public Works stormwater manager at the time, agreed to lead the Parks and Open Space division. Melissa poured herself into the challenge and engaged with the dedicated Parks employees to optimize operational capacity and meet employee and community needs. Immediately, the administration supported the effort with the creation of 2 key positions that were necessary for the success. One was the operations manager position, and one was the administrative manager position. We are incredibly lucky to have recruited Skylar Nielsen to join the city about a year ago as the Parks operations manager. Skylar was leading groundskeeping for the University of California and came ready for a new challenge, and he's doing a fantastic job leading the Parks crews now. We also have Philip Lujan, who joined the Parks team as the administrative manager, and he's really a stellar performer, and we're thrilled to have him as part of the team. And I think Philip is here, and there's Philip. And Skylar isn't here. He's busy. That's unfortunate. And then here's Melissa McDonald, the Parks Division Director. Melissa will talk more about the accomplishments of Parks and Open Space Division in her section. Another key initiative that started some years ago, and I wanted to report on the progress, is building capital capacity inside the city. In the fiscal year 21 budget and subsequent fiscal year 22 and 23 budgets, the city recognized invested in the need for project management capacity to leverage federal and state grant funding, legislative appropriations, bond capacity, and other funding for capital improvements in the city. This investment has been critical in progress on key initiatives and leveraging funding for the benefit of city constituents. 4 new positions were created in fiscal year 21 and have been used to create organizational structure and capacity to manage capital planning and project delivery. New project administrator positions were turned into a career ladder with a senior project administrator position and capital project managers. That created a career ladder for our highly experienced and highly qualified capital project staff to stay with the city and grow their contributions. We have a number of those key employees who benefited themselves and the city through this career path, including Romello Glorioso Moss, who PhD and CPO, who came to Public Works as a project administrator from seniors and has worked her way up through the new career ladder, making greater and greater contributions as a project administrator, a senior project administrator, and finally a capital projects manager in the Complete Streets division. Now leading the capital projects team in Complete Streets, currently managing over $80 million in 22 roadway and trails projects. Two other project administrators, is Romello here? Oh, you guys get to see Romello regularly at the podium. Two other project administrators have been promoted in the career ladder, contributing their many years of expertise and qualifications as senior project administrators. And those are Karen Gross, professional project management, certified professional project manager, and John Dillon, a certified licensed general contractor. John is here today. We're thrilled to have him on our team, and lucky John has been instrumental in bringing things like the downtown restrooms to fruition. Once projects get into the field, he is priceless to have on the team. We have a cohort of fantastic project administrators that have come out of this focus on building this capital capacity. That includes Mark Brooks, who leads the city's pavement rehabilitation, planning and construction, as well as overseeing construction of city roadway projects. He now works under Romello, and so they team together on roadway projects. And we also are the new positions provided for project administrators to support each division, since every division plans, operates, maintains, and builds their own capital infrastructure. For instance, in parks, the same in streets, the same in transit, the same at the airport. It's really important that these project administrators are key to the success of each of the divisions. So we are thrilled to have Scott Overly having joined us as the Parks project administrator and helping to be a key leader in that team. We have James Garduno, who's the airport project administrator and really a right-hand person to James Harris in successfully delivering the airport expansion. Of course, we have Therese Martinez, who's project administrator specializing in libraries, since she came to us from the library team, and Josh Bowman, project administrator focused on the rail yard. And we are thrilled to have Josh. He comes to the rail yard with an already passion for the rail yard. He comes to the city with a passion for the rail yard and has just really hit the ground running and making a huge difference. We currently have 3 vacant project administrator positions, 2 that report to Romello, 1 for stormwater, actually, and 1 for facilities. So there's 4 that we're currently recruiting for, and there'll be interviews actually next week. Public Works performs the city's capital planning through collaboration with the departments, the administration, and the public, developing and submitting the ICIP annually and maintaining a master list of capital needs. This has been a team effort led by me, but the initiative to build capital capacity resulted in the creation of another capital project manager position, which will take that role and forever really codify it for the city. So it'll be someone's job to be gathering this information, maintaining the list, updating the reports about the progress of capital projects. And this position will be recruited for soon. This collaborative planning has resulted in leveraging tens of millions of dollars of capital appropriations from the legislature toward our infrastructure improvement goals. The city has been using all the tools available to fund capital projects over the past 4 years. Some examples are a New Mexico Finance Authority loan was used to fund modernization improvements in the parking garages. You see that in the budget book as part of the debt service that comes out of parking. New Mexico Environment Department and Clean Water Revolving Loan Fund has been used to fund stormwater improvements and build throughout the city. Municipal lease financing was used to fund the $17 million solar and efficiency project. NMDOT funds are ensuring progress on 22 major roadway and trails projects. A grant was recently secured by Sam and his team to perform historical renovation planning for the main library. And the Complete Streets team has just applied for funding for the modernization of our traffic signals, for which the governing body is also providing operating funds in fiscal year 23 and 24 towards this effort. So there's many tools in the capital toolkit, and the city is leveraging all of them, including a capital allocation in the fiscal year 24 budget, as has occurred in the last 3 budgets for specific capital allocations from operating budget. Another initiative that I want to mention is the administrative team. A few years ago, departments all saw the need for a highly professional administrative function with intentional structure to serve the departments and the city. HR and the departments collaborated to create the business operations manager job description. It was a brand new concept. The role would bring depth of financial and administrative expertise into the department to help to ensure compliance and accuracy in administrative, HR, and financial transactions. Public Works is thrilled to have this key technical and leadership position filled by Halona Crow, longtime city employee who has worked in utility billing and in finance during her career at the city. Everybody's looking to see you, Halona. Maybe you can scoot over just a little. I know she's this rare sighting of Halona Crow. She's so fantastic.
Yeah, and we're blocked by one of the display
Oh,
screens,
that's a
so.
great idea. Thank you, Counselor. Each division is now also fitted with an administrative manager who coordinates with the business operations manager and the directors to ensure all contracts, grants, budgets, packets, memos, HR transactions, purchase orders, invoices, etc., are properly executed, documented, and put into the system. We have a fantastic team of administrative managers, all of whom were promoted in the past year or joined the city in the past year. This includes Dialva Calavasa from our facilities team, Lucretia Diaz from our Complete Streets team, Philip Lujan from Parks and Open Space, and Vicky Montgomery at the department level. We're working on promotions in transit as well. And actually there's Kelly Bynan. Is Kelly here? Kelly Bynan is the administrative manager at the airport. So it's a very consistent, intentional administrative structure that's necessary to make sure that administrative functions are performed consistently, clear, and correctly. We're really excited about this big change that it adds to our capacity. It was actually sort of part of the capital capacity planning. You can't have more capacity to do more grants and more contracts and more projects without the administrative capacity to support that. Another giant initiative that the city has undertaken in the last few years was the expansion of the airport. The city saw the need to modernize and expand the Santa Fe Regional Airport and undertook constructing a $20 million improvement project. This took years in the making, leveraging multiple allocations from the legislature towards the funding, and then finally the city putting in probably almost 50% of the construction cost. In the midst of this huge undertaking, the city's airport manager retired. The city is thrilled to have a new airport manager, James Harris, join us in the middle of this project. James comes with extensive experience in airport management and improvements, and was last in Clovis, New Mexico. And James shares the city's vision for the Santa Fe Regional Airport, providing safe, comfortable, and convenient and compliant services. So we're really excited to have James on our team, and thank you so much for your hard work right now. So moving all the way up to today, the Public Works Department includes 7 divisions. It's not exactly as it shows in the budget book because we actually operate Midtown as part of facilities. So Sam really fully takes the lead on the Midtown operations and budget. And so it's actually Public Works Administration, the airport, Complete Streets, which was formerly 2 divisions, engineering and streets, facilities, which includes the rail yard in Midtown, parking, Parks and Open Space, which includes MRC, stormwater, and now graffiti, and transit. As the slide says, the Public Works Department mission is to provide high quality infrastructure for a sustainable, safe, and vital city. Public Works supports infrastructure in every neighborhood and on every street in the city. When you stand outside anywhere in our city, the infrastructure all around you is planned, constructed, operated, and maintained by Public Works professionals. Public Works consists of over 360 licensed trade professional, laborers, operators, engineers, project managers, specialists of all kinds, administrators, customer service representatives, cashiers, mechanics, superintendents, directors, managers, and coordinators that dedicate themselves to safe and sustainable infrastructure that makes our city a vibrant place to live, work, and play. Public Works manages not only facilities operated by Public Works, like in parks or or at the airport, but collaborates with all city departments to operate and maintain their facilities and plan and execute infrastructure projects. For community health and safety departments, we plan, build, operate, and maintain recreation centers, libraries, senior centers, shelters, police and fire facilities, the teen center, pools, administrative offices, and others. Our collaboration with the Community Development Department includes deep involvement in the land use entitlement process. Public Works helps to ensure that compliant and high-quality infrastructure is constructed by private developers. Public Works representatives review plans for private development to ensure roadways, trails, parks, and stormwater meet city code and community needs. Currently, Zoe Isaacson, stormwater manager, who I believe is here. Really thrilled to have Zoe as a new stormwater manager. Melissa McDonald, Parks and Open Space Director, and Leroy Pacheco under contract represents roadway and trails. All of those people participate in DRT review, which is a huge responsibility. Reviewing in detail every set of private development plans, make sure that infrastructure, when it's built, is going to serve the city in the way that we all want it to serve. We also do inspections prior to acceptance to make sure that it's been built to those specifications. Definitely want to call out specifically, and Eric Ani, the director of MPO, mentioned this in his talk at the budget, is MPO is a key partner in Public Works. They complete regional transportation plans that identify key roadway and trails improvements to support safe multimodal transportation networks. Public Works and MPO partner to secure grants to fund projects and deploy these prioritized projects for the community. Trails projects, roadway projects, mostly adding sidewalks and bike lanes and traffic calming. We're teaming up to now MPO, and with the help of our new traffic engineer, Jean Wolfenbarger, who is probably not here today, but many of you have gotten a chance to meet her. MPO, Jean, and myself are teaming up to actually write new code that'll be incorporated as part of the Chapter 14 code rewrite that'll narrow lanes and slow traffic and make sidewalks bigger and bike lanes safer and more inviting, so that all the infrastructure built in the future for the city will continue to contribute to our sustainability and mobility goals. And so we're thrilled to have we are thrilled to have Jean Wolfenbarger join our team just over a year ago. The traffic engineer position was vacant for over 7 years. It was John Romero was the engineering director. He was the acting traffic engineer, and largely he left because there were so many vacancies on his team. He just, the workload for him was unbearable. It was really unworkable. And we've been slowly but surely working to fill those vacancies since his departure, and doing great work in the meantime. I think I mentioned that Public Works operates the Midtown and Rail Yard campuses in partnership with asset management. So there's a lot of collaboration there with the Community Development Department. I also wanted to mention that Public Works has quite a robust regular communication with the public. So we are the department that receives the most CRMs for sure. We have the trifecta: potholes, weeds, and medians. And so, and we, I'm super proud and thankful to the directors and their teams for tackling these CRMs and using it as an opportunity to build relationship with our community. I think that has gotten better and better. Public Works also staffs a number of advisory committees that provide input to the city's plans, policies, and projects. Some of the committees include the Mayor's Committee on Disabilities, the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee. I know there's a number of committees that advise the Parks and Open Space Department and the Stormwater Project. So, and the Stormwater Initiative. And all of these really help us to stay in sync with our community, keep them informed, get their input, and move forward, realizing the vision set by the governing body. And that about concludes my preamble of introduction. And I guess I will stop there and ask if there's any questions at this point, and then we'll move into each of the division presentations.
Are there questions from the committee, or would you like to hear the rest of the presentations? I think generally we've been going through the whole presentation and then circling back. So I think we'll just stick with that, but thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you so much, Madam Chair. And then Janelle, I think we're ready for the slide on the airport. Just, is it one before that? Before that? I
And
thought it was the first one.
also, while we're dealing with technology, I can't see Councilwoman Villarreal on the screen, on any of the screens. So if she's raising her hand, I have no idea. So if we can either because she's not on there. She's not on any, there we go. She's, as long as we can have her on one screen, I can see that, or if somebody can flag me, that'd be great. All right, perfect. Thank you. Welcome. You've never done one of these before, huh?
No, not one of
Okay,
these.
we don't bite. We sometimes, I don't know,
Not from what I
scratch,
hear.
but we don't bite. Trying to help us not bite.
Okay, let's
Anyway.
do this. Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. Nailed it. The Santa Fe Regional Airport is a key economic engine for northern New Mexico. As it continues to grow in a safe and secure environment, the airport will provide all users with superior service, work toward realistic sustainability goals, represent our character and culture, and be a good neighbor as well as a great place to work. Description of our services: the airport operates and maintains the Santa Fe Regional Airport, which includes managing leases, buildings, infrastructure maintenance, collaborating with airlines and FBOs, which are fixed base operators, to ensure high quality services to the community, compliance with the FAA and TSA regulations, and pursuing and managing grant funding.
Madam Chair, if I may, Director Harris, can you give a little bit of an update about the status of the upgrade and the renovation at the airport?
So the renovation of the airport terminal in the parking area, after a slow start and many delays due to various reasons, we're back on track with an estimated completion for the terminal area late August, and completion of the full parking area in mid-December. Where I'm pushing to have it done before the Christmas break because we're going to need it.
Madam Chair, Manager Blair, if I could add to that, governing body probably remembers well that for about 4 years ago, the airport was our top priority request. Part of the reason for that was that it's such an economic engine for the city, improves the quality of life for our residents, and really serves the entire northern New Mexico region. That really aligned well with the legislature's priorities at the time, who felt that investment in the airport would be a really good thing for the region. And so the city was funded well over actually multiple years in a row. That gave us the chance to start the project, to design the project, because our airport had been operating with 1/3 of the space necessary and recommended for the current number of passengers. So not even, just to catch up to what we already had. And there's a great demand and opportunity for more destinations from our airport. And so this first phase of the renovation is just the first. There's a phase 2 and 3 coming quickly on its heels that James is already working with FAA to leverage funding for, so that we can actually get to the point where the baggage claim won't be in a modular, which it will be at the end of this at this renovation, but it'll still be greatly improved. And you'll see that with this expansion, we're maintaining the character of the airport really as a historically significant facility. And it's one of the only airports you'll find in America with an outdoor waiting area, as well as serve needs and have compliance and more space for all the passengers. So yeah, really appreciate the work that James is doing for the airport. And I know that he's got lots of exciting plans that he'll be bringing forward as we get over this first project and move to the future. Okay, great. And then the next presentation, Janelle, if you go to the next slide, it's for facilities.
Good afternoon, councilors, City Manager Blair, Director Oster. Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak to you today. It's a really important opportunity for me to introduce my division to you. My name is Sam Burnett. I'm the Facilities Division Director. The Facilities Division is responsible for the management of over 100 city buildings and the day-to-day operations and physical management of the Santa Fe Rail Yard in Midtown Santa Fe. Our mission is to plan, design, construct, and maintain safe, sustainable, functional, clean, and fiscally responsible city facilities and properties. Our division is made up of 6 distinct sections that I'd like to quickly introduce you to today. First, we have our administrative section, which is led by our administrative manager, Ms. Dialva Calabaza. We also have in addition to an admin manager, a contract administrator, and administrative assistant. Ms. Calabaza and her team have really helped revision and restructure our administrative section and has been working diligently to help develop both administrative standard operating procedures and division-wide SOPs to help professionalize and improve the quality and efficiency of all our work. We have a capital improvement project management section that's led by myself. Included on this team are our senior construction qualifying project administrator, Mr. John Dillon. We have a senior capital projects administrator, Miss Karen Gross, who is unable to attend today. And we have, oh, she made it. There she is. Hi, Karen. No problem. We have 2 other project administrators on our team at the moment, Miss Therese Martinez and Mr. Josh Bowman. To date, the CIP team has made incredible progress on and completed dozens of projects this fiscal year and spent millions of dollars in capital funding. Some examples of projects they've been working on include the citywide solarization, Water Street restrooms, the Southside Teen Center, BC Pool, the reconstruction of parts of Fort Marcy Recreation Center, and the rehabilitation of the Santa Fe Train Depot. We have a mechanical, electrical, and plumbing maintenance section led by our maintenance manager, Mr. Sean Montoya. Sean's team is made up of 2 journeyman electricians, 2 journeyman mechanical plumbers, 4 maintenance specialists, and 4 maintenance seniors. His division is always incredibly busy maintaining these, over 100 city facilities, keeping them fully operational and open 365 days a year. I think this fiscal year to date, they've completed over 1,150 work orders and 2,470 preventative maintenance activities throughout the city. We have a custodial section led by our custodial manager, Mr. Jude Torres. Right now, he manages 3 lead custodians and 14 custodians. Like facilities maintenance, 365 days a year. They are providing service at over 20 facilities, including City Hall, Water Street restrooms, Sandoval Garage, and Market Station. In addition to what you would consider routine custodial services, they also provide disinfecting throughout the city to help prevent the spread of COVID and other illnesses. We're also working this fiscal year to begin consolidating custodians who work outside of the facilities division without custodial manager supervision to improve the overall efficiency, cleanliness, and safety of the city. We have an internal construction section that the city has always lovingly referred to as the locals. This team's led by Mr. John Dillon and Dan Vigil. It's comprised of a construction supervisor, a construction specialist, a senior, and a construction specialist. In the last year, they've completed 25 internal construction projects, providing exceptional quality work and a level of efficiency and cost savings that are unattainable in the open market. Some examples of the type of things they've been doing, extensive renovation of the new ITT offices, refurbishing walking bridges for the Fort Marcy Park, building a new police office here at City Hall. They built a new office for the deputy city manager. They've replaced damaged vigas on the plaza portals. They really do an amazing amount of work and are really an exceptional group. And finally, we have our property management section, an amazing team of one. That's Mr. Tim Farrell, who applies his really exceptional knowledge and skills, providing a wide array of services that keep the rail yard in Midtown, operating and safe and functional on a day-to-day basis. There are a number of budget highlights throughout today's presentation and in the budget book directly related to the facilities division. We've been allocated a portion of the $2.8 million intended for maintenance and upkeep of facilities and grounds. We've been allocated a portion of the $1.6 million intended for security services, alarm monitoring and maintenance. Some things that we've completed that you've already heard about. We've completed the Water Street restrooms, renovations on Fort Marcy. We're nearing completion of the Southside Teen Center. We have a final project for the reconstruction of BC Pool. We'll be wrapping up this spring. We planned and coordinated the relaunch of the Santa Fe Southern Railway, now known as SkyRail, and the rail yard, bringing back that historic partner to the Santa Fe Rail Yard. And again, we will soon complete the renovation of the Santa Fe Train Depot, a landmark structure and an important cultural landmark for the city. In closing, the beginning of this new fiscal year is really in line with the beginning of my third year as the facilities division director. Over the last 2 years, my focus has been on ensuring that our division was able to deliver and complete the many high priority projects we had on our plate, and began the restructuring and developing the standard operating procedures needed in my division to improve our efficiency and the quality of our work. Over the next fiscal year, our focus is really on continuing to reorganize our division to ensure we are appropriately aligned with the needs of the city, to continue to develop our SOPs to ensure we provide citywide departments and divisions the support and services they need to successfully deliver the best quality services to our community. And with that, I'm happy to stand with questions or for questions, or I guess we can keep moving.
We are going to keep moving, but we'll loop back around.
Can you hear me okay? Whoop, sorry. Is that better? Okay, great. Thank you very much. I'm Melissa McDonald. I'm the Parks and Open Space Division Director. I want to thank you, Madam Chair, Councilor, Finance Committee, John Blair, City Manager, and Emily for hearing us out today. Our division strives to provide safe and inspiring parks, open spaces, and recreational experiences that enhance the quality of life in Santa Fe while preserving our community's culture and maturing our creative nature, nurturing our creative nature and adhering to our sustainability goals. And how do we do this? We have 4 divisions in the public, in the Parks and Open Space Division. That is the River and Watershed Stormwater section, what I'm calling the Parks and Open Space O&M and Capital Planning section, which comprises of 1 person. Our MRC athletic fields and Marty Sanchez golf course facilities, and our newest section, which is the Park Ranger section. The River and Watershed section, I'm going to go through these individually. The River and Watershed section operates under our Stormwater Strategic Master Plan. And this is a 15-year plan. It was approved pre-pandemic and post-flood. It has 3 phases. And the first phase is phase 1, and there were 7 arroyos and pieces of the Santa Fe River. We are proud to say we're almost completed with that. this particular year. Our accomplishments include debris collectors at the Camino Crisitas area along St. Francis. We also did a culvert replacement at Santander. We also did some bank stabilization along the Santa Fe River. And then we've been continuing with the Alameda Rain Garden program along Alameda. We've now started to move into phase 2. That's what we're going to tackle this fiscal year. We're requesting $1.1 million for drainage infrastructure improvements. And those are going to be primarily focused in arroyos this year. We're looking at the Arroyo Tenario, as well as Arroyo Chamizo on the south side. There's a couple areas in that arroyo, and as well as the Arroyo Pinos on the south side. We're also kicking off a community engagement process to help our constituents understand water quality and sediment best management practices. This will be very important in terms of making our projects longer living, because we need everybody's help to do that. We also have a vegetative management effort going on. We've requested $425,000 for that. And that's basically to keep our drainage ways free of debris. They're very overgrown and we really need to tackle that. I'm proud to say that we have moved people from up into the organization. Zoe Isaacson, who's here, and Regina mentioned her earlier, has done a phenomenal job. She just came in officially a few months ago or a month ago, but she really has picked up strongly in this area, and I couldn't be happier, which everybody knows this is one of my passions. So I'm very excited about that. And she's been working hard to really focus in on the management plan that we created, because we created a plan so that we could stick to it and leverage our stormwater fee. This is funded out of a special revenues fund, and it's very important that we utilize this effectively. And so she has applied for clean water revolving loan funds, and it's just an excellent opportunity. So thank you so much, Zoe. The second section I want to talk about is the Parks and Open Space, which I'm calling O&M. I probably have to come up with a better name for this, but we have the capital planning section. And like Sam mentioned, I have one project administrator, Scott Overly, who's been fabulous and comes to us this, I guess, over a year, a little over a year, from the private sector. But he has hit the ground running and has done a lot of work for the city. In his time here, he led the reconstruction of our tennis courts at Herb Martinez and Lirigoite Park. He handled the MRC soccer field light installation and also turf reduction. He tackled the upgrading of all of our MRC bathrooms and the Marty Sanchez bathrooms. He self-initiated a plan to start converting over all of our park signs because they had gotten really faded, and we're going to be carrying that forward in this next year's budget. And my favorite this year's accomplishment is he started to lead the effort, which is really a team effort in parks, on our new weed machine that's going to transform our medians and parks. And that machine's very exciting. I'm kind of nerdly excited about this. It's a machine that heats up water and plant-based oils and basically scalds the weeds, and then they don't come back. That's what we hear. So this is being done across the country. It's sort of new here, and they're doing it in Boulder, and you're going to hear a lot more about it because, you know, the weeds are starting to grow, and we're up for the challenge. He also went ahead and got these. He found these goat head machines that we tested out, and then we ended up buying a attachment to our four-wheel drive type equipment. And so it'll go over the fields and grab all of the goat heads. And we've been testing this out, and it's just been fabulous. So we're trying lots of new things. Our big hope is that the foam machine's going to be a winner for us. And the thing about the foam machine is that you do have to apply it as much as you would chemical treatment, but it's supposed to work. So very excited about that. Next year's project, and you'll be hearing about these in the, I guess it sounds like in a week. We're excited to be kicking off our pickleball construction. That's going to be a lot of fun. We also, through ARPA, are going to be building a new baseball field, artificial baseball field at Regal Park. The Little League and the softball ladies are just thrilled. We're also going to be doing some crack and seal repairs on the trails. And we're hoping to get some median redesign funds that we can kick off to really get going on our median redesign. And we're going to be focusing on our gateways. I also want to mention that Scott ran our ENN for the Swan Park this past year, and we're going to be kicking off that this coming year. So we have lots of exciting things in parks, and he's a man of one, but we all support him. The next area, which is our biggest area and where all of our budget really goes, is our maintenance operations. And this is run by Skylar Nielsen. We are incredibly fortunate to get him. He came to us with a background in facilities or at community colleges and such. He also is an arborist. He's not here today because he's at the International Society of Arboriculture training. And this is huge because it really does support parks and our canopy redesign. Skylar is in charge of running all of our crews and all the operations, such as equipments that we have to purchase, those kind of things. We maintain 77 parks, 30 open spaces, 171 miles of trails, and over 100 miles of medians. Our former director used to like to say you can walk to Albuquerque and back, and that's a number of medians we have. So we've got a lot of medians. We also maintain the plaza. In all of those facilities, we have even more things. We have basketball courts, pickleball field, or pickleball, tennis, play structures. So we have a lot to maintain, and Skylar's running the crews to do that. And he oversees 45 maintenance employees and 16 seasonals. If we were to be fully staffed, we would have 102 employees. We right now, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little feedback here. Right now we have 58. We are supplementing this with contracts. You'll see that in the budget. Oh yeah, thanks. We have to turn that off. Sorry. Oh, I don't know why we're getting that feedback, but maybe.
Hold on a second. Ben, can you, or Alex, sorry.
Just do your thing.
Okay. Let's see, I'll move on. So the next section that it's really a big section when you look at it in terms of square footage is the MRC.
Hold on just a minute, Director.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe we can trade the mic out. Yeah. And yeah, just get it kind of close to you.
I have like bad karma with big mics. It happens to me all the time. This is much better. It happens to me all the time. Anyway.
So noted.
So the next section is a big section in square footage, and that's the MRC athletic fields and the Marty Sanchez Links golf course. And we have here Jonathan Weiss, who recently was before you, giving you the assessment. Jonathan's been with us just under a year, and he's been really focusing in what are our needs there. And this assessment that he presented to you ranked a lot of the needs that we have, which is going to become very helpful when we get into our capital planning in the fall. But it also is going to help us increase efficiencies and in the operations. And I'm very thankful for his expertise and background at all of this. I will also say that he has been working closely with the water division to apply our effluent properly, and with our water conservation division to figure out how we can save water and effluent at the course. So I appreciate his work with that. He's also gearing up for our 25th year anniversary. That's going to be in August. So we're going to be kicking off some exciting things. He's already come through with you on a fee reduction for the 25th, and we have some other things coming forward. So I just want to recognize him. I do want to say that you'll see in our budget $350,000 for seasonal temporary workers. We cannot run that facility without those additional workers. So that's very important to us. He also called to our attention that many of our equipment, much of our equipment is at its lifetime or the beginning of its lifetime, which is 6 years. And he's very concerned about that because, we had 3 machines down last year at various times, but it definitely affects the course conditions. So he came up with an innovative solution because right now to buy new mowers is pretty hard to get. So he's asking for $87,000 for a mower equipment lease to buy. And I thought that was very innovative. The nice thing about this is that if the mower were to go down, they will come and bring us another one. So I think that's an excellent idea. Our last section is the park ranger section. This is the fastest growing section in Parks and Open Space. We hired Jason Sharp during the pandemic. And from the time that we got him, he has now grown that to 6 positions. And I want to thank you all for, really supporting him. He is doing a fabulous job. And when I, reached out to his recommendations, one of the gentlemen said, and I kind of hinted that we might be growing this because he was doing such, we were looking for this type of activity. And when I interviewed them, they said, well, if you want to get something done, hire him. He'll make it happen. And I have to tell you, Jason is making this happen. He is really engaged in this proactive patrolling, and he uses the utmost care as he's dealing with some of our homeless population, because we do have to clean up and move them on. And I just want to thank him for his work and his whole team's work. Lastly, I want to thank the mayor, this governing body, and the city manager, my director, Regina Wheeler, and my admin manager, Phil Lujan. When I came into Public Works, when I came into Parks, we had a real inequity in our system. And in terms of trying to hire people, there was no career ladder. I had employees that were brand new making about $1 less than people who had been there 16 to 18 years. And it was, they're hardworking, energetic, and just happy people. But that's a hard place to work. And I knew that we were doing this comp and class, and HR worked with all of us, and we were able to really establish a career ladder. And I'm just so thankful for that because I think it's going to really help morale. I also think it's going to really help us bring in more people to work in the Parks and Open Space division. So thank you all very much for that. And I know that we got a little ahead of things, but I really think it's making a difference. So thank you. Now, stop now.
Thank you so much, Melissa. Now we're ready for the next slide. Parking. That must be me. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. The big news in the parking space is that our new parking director starts a week from tomorrow. Super exciting. He's coming from an operation very much like ours that has a lot of the same components. He speaks the language, he knows the equipment and the systems. And he's coming to us from Vancouver, Washington, which is a suburb of Portland. So also probably very familiar with multimodal systems, which we could really use some help with. It's a big focus for us right now. In the last fiscal budget, and probably was fiscal year 22, actually, we had converted the garages to automated systems and were able to reduce the number of employees needed. So we got to send FTEs to other departments and locations where positions were needed. You'll see the debt service to that New Mexico Finance Authority loan that was used to modernize the garages in the budget. So the parking has the enforcement team, the maintenance team, the administrative team, and I think that's it. Yes. And I don't know what to tell you. There's a lot of great work to be done. And the team is very dedicated and engaged. They're doing their best. Oh, I know what else to tell you. The governing body approved a contract just about a month ago to replace a number of the broken parking meters. That project is supposed to start either next Tuesday or the following Tuesday. We have received the parts. We met with the vendor in a kickoff meeting yesterday to do the details. And the installation will only take about a week. So once we get started, we'll complete in a week. So we're really excited about that. And then the rest of the meters will be replaced with funding that's in this budget for fiscal year 24. And I think I'll just leave it at that. Thank you so much. Next slide. Complete streets. Thank you so much. I guess I'd like to start a little bit. Of course, Tomas is used to this for me. So Complete Streets is the combination of the engineering and streets division from the past. And so Tomas and I are partnering to lead it. It is really quite robust and dynamic and important division now, right? So this team that we've put together, it used to be engineering was separate. So the planning and the capital construction and the review of the private development was in one part of the house. And then the field work to maintain and operate those roads and inspect them and inspect them was in a separate division. Now that team is together and I think it's really working well. It's really supporting both sides of the team to have the expertise. They're collaborating on design, on projects, on maintenance activities. And so there's the capital programs section, which is led by Ramela. There's the streets maintenance team, which is led by Felipe. There is the traffic operations team, which here's another exciting announcement. Our new engineering supervisor leading the traffic operations team starts in about a month. His name is Mike Delmelin. He's a professional engineer coming to us from Virginia. He's completely excited. He loves traffic signals, timing, all that kind of stuff. Jose, during the interview, Jose Lerma has been our traffic operations team manager. That's the field crew that maintains our signals. They used to maintain our street lights. Now PNM and Delkia do that. He's had a really difficult position, right? Because so 3 levels above him were missing. So he reports straight to me. And you know, I do my best, but it's not the same as having a couple of bosses in between. And his team has also been extremely hard to fill. So they've been massively understaffed for a long time. We just had some success at a rapid hire a couple months ago. We expect those guys to walk in the door in a couple of weeks. But Mike Damelin is going to make a huge difference in both supporting Jose, supporting our signals, our streetlights, and supporting our new traffic engineer, Gene Wolfenbarger, who will be reporting to him as well. So we're starting to really fill in really key roles inside the Complete Streets division. And so that's my little beginning spiel. And there's a number of, you'll see on the slides, quite a number of accomplishments here from the Complete Streets division, right? All the street lights are in Complete Streets. So that conversion, I actually project managed it, but it was part of the Complete Streets efforts and our sustainability efforts. We're updating the traffic signal control cabinets, and retrofitting battery backups so that when we have power glitches on our in our power grid, our signals don't go dark or flash. They actually can ride through it for a few hours. That is a really key improvement. And then we've let's see. We've been doing a bunch of traffic calming is in this team, right? So that traffic calming is being managed now by Leroy Pacheco for us under contract, but he's been extremely diligent. We work through them as they're presented. We shepherd the communities through the process of the votes, of reviewing the proposed improvements. And now this year we're deploying 3 neighborhood improvements, and we'll be hoping to do at least 3 a year. We're also taking that feedback from the traffic calming exercises and incorporating it into new cross sections for our standard roadway design, because we have got to design them for people to go slowly and people to feel safe and people to be able to use their bicycles and walk on our roadways and not, it's really interesting. One of the things that is super fun that we're doing with Eric Ani and our new traffic engineer is that you'll find that our roads are regulated by federal highway code. We don't want highways running through our neighborhoods. So we're beginning to turn that code upside down and say, these codes want to build roads so that cars can go faster and they don't have any friction and they never have to slow down. And actually we're like want to do the opposite on our roads. And so it's a really interesting exercise that we're undertaking. And I just really appreciate Eric and his teams and Gene's and everybody's engagement and all of the contracted engineers that work for us really beginning to put their head around this new paradigm that the city of Santa Fe is leading. And another big partner in our Complete Streets division is, of course, the Department of Transportation. And so another role that I've been playing since there hasn't been a division director is interfacing to DOT on their projects. So they're going to rebuild the St. Francis overpass over St. Mike's. We've been giving input on that. They came to us with a final design, a conceptual design to kick off their design phase that had 6 lanes under the overpass. And we're like, no, we actually have the vision that St. Mike's becomes a narrower road and more conducive to multimodal transportation, walking and biking. And we asked them to go back to the drawing board and make it a 4-lane. And boy, were they excited when they found out they could do it safely and for like a lot less money. We also have been really strong partners with DOT on the rebuilding of Cerrillos Road between St. Mike's and St. Francis. So they wanted to basically put in a big 2-lane facility that had very little traffic friction. And we said, this is a multimodal hub right here. Trails come into that section. You've got the rail runner station is not far away. You've got a school right there. It's the gateway to downtown Santa Fe. And so we wrote a formal letter from the MPO and the Public Works Department that said, you know, this is a gateway to downtown Santa Fe. Think of the character, think of the quality of access that we want to create there. And we've made a big difference in that design too. So that's another piece of work that Public Works and the Complete Streets has been doing. Would you like to add to that? Anything, Director Martinez? Oh, the innovation from the streets maintenance team, I think, is a big story.
Yeah, we've innovated a lot of old processes and changed them to improve. We've managed to secure a decent amount of new equipment thanks to you people. You know, and COVID was one of the things where it really brought our crews down to the core crews of the people that really, really care about the city of Santa Fe and the residents. We really have a strong team that's really pushing forward to do their best. We try not to do anything that's a quick patch or it'll work for now. We try to stop, think about it, take it apart, fix it correct, so we don't have to come back. And that's our new major motto in the street maintenance part of Complete Streets.
Thank you so much, Tomas. And I'd like to add to that too as well. In the past year, the Complete Streets team had to undertake maintenance of Cerrillos Road, Old Pecos Trail, the addition of a crew in the last fiscal year budget, and a lot of new equipment, and that has all been integrated seamlessly. I think we had a really good snow season on those big roads. And now the new thing that they're working on is more pavement preservation activities with the purchase of a crack sealing machine and really taking a look at what can we do besides just the mill and fill that we do with the big pavement rehabilitation projects, but what can we do to have to really prolong the pavement so that we have to do those less frequently. And I think that's really innovative. We're excited to see this summer will be the first summer of that activity. So we'll see the effects of that. Thank you so much. Okay, next slide. Transit.
Transit. Transit, I would like to talk a little bit about. Some of the major stuff that we do, we're currently working with more than a 50% vacancy rate. COVID again caused a lot of people that were ready to retire or were eligible for retirement to retire. The job market got very competitive, so a lot of other transit agencies were paying quite a bit more money, so we were losing people. One of our major factors is the housing market in Santa Fe, so people have to commute. So if you're gonna commute, you're gonna look for work closer to home. But again, we're down to our core crew of people that really care about the city and drivers that really, really push to do their best every day. We've done a lot of innovations by adjusting schedules to help keep people. We've implemented some on-demand routes on 5 of our routes that were really low ridership routes that we'd average about 75 riders a day. So the on-demand has worked really good, and it's kind of morphed into almost a subscription type system for the people that go to work every day on those routes. So even when our system goes down, the drivers already know to be at certain stops at certain times to get these people to work when they need to get to work. I think it's helped us build with the community quite a bit. We've also had that multimodal study that we went through a couple years ago, and we're building off of that and actually working on doing a rejig of all our routes to improve everything that we have and try to serve the areas that need better service much better. We've continually bought near zero emission buses, so our buses actually have 0.02 emissions coming out of them. So the air you breathe out of the back of one of our engines is cleaner than the air that you would smell in most cities in the US. We are currently purchasing 5 new electric vans, which will be an awesome thing for our paratransit. We work with over 10 agencies to ensure that they get discounted passes to help anybody that's in need. We support all 5 events that the city sponsors, major events that the city sponsors with transit. And through COVID, we had initiated a kind of like a medical indigent service with Midtown. And we've managed to maintain that through all this time for people that are over there that need to go for medical or COVID or anything. We have a specific shuttle that's completely set up to go pick them up, drop them off, pick them up, get them back over to Midtown. And we also work with Pete's Place hand in hand also to accomplish that. So those are some of the major things that we do at Transit. And I'd just like to put a big shout out to everybody over there for sticking it out for the city and doing their best, and appreciate your guys' support.
Thank you so much, Director Martinez, and congratulations on leading that team through COVID and through the Great Resignation and still delivering key services to people that really need it and count on it. And I'm excited about the transformation that we've been talking about. They have some really great ideas, having learned from this new on-demand service and what might be possible and how to really serve the community. I think that concludes our division presentations. And I'd just like to say in conclusion of the whole presentation that I hope that what we presented to you is that Public Works is working really hard to realize your visions. It's a long-term game for Public Works. We both have to respond to immediate needs as well as really continue to build that infrastructure that creates the city that we want to have. And we're all thrilled to be working together to do it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for the 20,000-foot look, and then also the deeper dive into the work of each of your divisions and then their sections. And I think it's very informative, and we don't get these opportunities very often to have you in front of us in this way to talk about what you've done and what you're working on and what your vision is, how you're moving forward. So really appreciate taking the time to get into it. I do want to let the committee know, so it's a little bit before 2. Today is one of those days where there are other city-related meetings that members of the Finance Committee are involved in. Both, there's 2 others. So we probably need to wrap up no later than 3:30-ish, I'm thinking, so that those members can get to those other meetings or have a break between meetings. And so with that in mind, I think we should do what we've been doing, and we'll go through the dais here and give each counselor about 10 minutes. And then if we need to circle back for another round and we have time, we will do that. But just want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity, especially while you have your team in the room, Director Wheeler, that everybody has a chance, since these are rare opportunities. So with that in mind, Councilwoman Villarreal, you have your hand up, and if you're ready, I'll defer to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'm sorry I couldn't be with you all. I'm still mucosa and trying to get through this cold, and I don't want to subject anyone to all my coughing. So I just decided to be on Zoom again. Just wanted to thank everybody that's in the room. I can partially see you when the camera goes to staff. Right now, I just see thank you. I see the staff now. Thank you. I wanted to appreciate the positivity of Director Wheeler and her presentation. It was very thorough, and with all the directors, it was very helpful to get all the highlights, and then also just hear about some of the things you wanted to just make sure that we know about before we ask questions. And also just to the team in general, I don't see all of you right now, but the directors and managers, and also to the staff who are likely not in the room right now. They're the people that make the magic happen. And so I just wanted to thank them as well, for all the work and everything that you do daily. I think I'll start with, just kind of going through some of the bullet points to make sure I'm clear about some of the items and the amounts. And I'll just start with, just to nip this in the bud, but the parking meters, I just want to make sure we're on track. You said this additional amount is 200,000. That's combining what we've already approved. You said, Dr. Wheeler, or Dr. Wheeler, I called you doctor. Are you a doctor now? Director Wheeler, are you saying this is the 200,000 is an additional amount with the amount we approved this past few months? Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay,
Additional, and that will finish the rest of the meters.
great. And that's the installation aspect, right?
Purchasing them and installing them, yes.
Okay, thank you. And you didn't talk too much about the converted, our LED streetlights, a major undertaking. And now we're on to the next phase. I call it the next phase, but that's with the PNM. The PNM, what are we calling it? Conversion for the PNM owned streetlights. Can you say a little bit more about that? You said in the budget booklet that with the converted city owned streetlights that we're achieving a 60% reduction in energy use. Is that the goal, or are we actually achieving that and seeing that percentage reduction?
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, Councilor Villarreal, for bringing up that project. We have 5,500 streetlights in the city of Santa Fe. The city owns about half of them. Those have been converted to LED, which is fantastic because that also saves us tons of money in energy costs, provides much better reliability and maintenance, as well as we implemented the city's community guided lighting design. So it's very warm and dim, and it seems to be really well received by the community. The savings are being realized. Those are actually guaranteed by Delkia. So they give us a report on a regular basis, verifying that we are achieving those energy and cost savings. And I have each of those monthly reports, and I've actually responded to a number of IPRAs providing those over the years. And what is left is converting the PNM lights. And I haven't really talked about this a lot, so I'm glad to have an opportunity to share this with leadership here. When we originally had our design for the streetlights with the 4,000 Kelvin for the major roads and the 3,000 Kelvin for the residential roads, if you remember, and no smart nodes that provide for dimming and remote sensing, PNM would have converted their 2,200 lights for free. And that's according to PRC regulations. They're required to, given the life of our lights and the conversion. With our community guided lighting design, we moved to equipment that was not regulated in that way and is no longer a free conversion. And we have to pay $750,000 to PNM to convert their lights now. The addition of the smart nodes is valuable, worth it for us in the long run. It will, the project to convert PNM lights alone will save us almost $500,000 a year. So it's a huge rate difference. It's really as much in the electrical savings as it is in the rate. Once you switch PNM lights to LED, it's their responsibility for maintenance. We don't pay them to maintain their own lights, it switches. So it's very worthwhile. We'd make our money back in 2 years, but obviously $750,000 doesn't just grow on trees. And so we've been really looking for the right opportunity and mechanism to fund that part of the project. But I've noticed it's in the goals for this year, and game, and I'm sure that we'll find an opportunity to get that. We could use another energy savings project method like we did for the whole 17 million, where we say, if we convert this equipment, we save this much money. So can we get New Mexico Finance Authority, for instance, to finance it? And I'm looking at actually sort of stepping back with that project, going to the state, having them certify the savings, and then that gives us an opportunity to leverage more funding. That answers your question. Thank you so much for the question.
Thank you, Director. And what's the timeline for the conversion for the PNM owned streetlights?
I'd say definitely fiscal year 24. I think it depends on how soon we'll be working hard to put a GRT bond package or a GO bond package together. That would definitely take priority over making this project, bringing that to reality, but definitely in fiscal year 24.
Thank you. Let's see. So I'm curious about the, just making sure, going to the rail yard park. There was you had talked about the 425,000 renovation project, and it includes the climbing and slide structure repairs and replacement of the wood block benches. And it says it's completed. Are we completed at the moment, or you're saying going to be completed at the end of fiscal year 23?
Chair, Councilor Villarreal, thank you for the question. We will actually be completed at the end of the fiscal year. We're about a month away from wrapping that up at the moment.
Excellent. Yes, that's a long project, and I'm glad to see that's being completed and safe now. The other piece about the rail yard, you talked about the special event season and how it was a record number of events. And I know last year there was an allocation for 50,000 to go towards the rail yard events in partnership with the Rail Yard Corp. And then the Department of Public Works actually filled the gap because the amount was actually 75,000. Can you just confirm that that's the case this year, and that you all will be completing or supporting that project as well, or the events in the rail yard?
Yeah, absolutely. Chair, Councilor Villarreal, again, this year, because of a flat budget, that $50,000 carried forward into this fiscal year. But we worked closely with Director Oster, Deputy Director Latero, and the budget officer, Andy Hopkins, and we have found a way to cover the extra 25 out of our operating budget for this coming fiscal year, and feel confident we'll be able to fully support those events.
Great. And at the 75,000, you said?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, we were given 50 officially in the budget and kind of worked together as a team to figure out where we'd pull the other 25 from, and are feeling good going into this coming fiscal year. So full
Great.
70.
Great. Thank you so much. Wanted to know more about the Downtown Transit Center and the South Side Transit Center. It says that those are in process, and I was curious about the timeline for both of those projects.
Thank you very much. Again, Chair, Councilor Villarreal, we have the Downtown Transit Center is well underway. Our senior project administrator, Ms. Karen Gross, has just finalized the entire packet and submitted it to the FTA for review. Once it comes back from the FTA and is approved, we will move forward into the bidding phase. Ms. Gross will be working very closely with Director Martinez on moving that forward. And we believe we will be going out to bid later this spring or this summer. And we'll be, depending on what comes back, we'll be following up with actually beginning the project, ideally late summer and the fall. Of course, this is always dependent on getting through the various or getting over the various hurdles we need to before then, but we feel very good about that. In response to the South Side Transit Center, I believe Director Martinez and Director Wheeler are working with the FTA on identifying and securing the appropriate level of funding to support that project. So while it is on the books, it is temporarily on hold while we do secure the final portion of funding needed.
Thank you. I don't know if Director Martinez wanted to share any
Yes.
insight.
We currently have put in an application for a grant to secure that funding. We have not heard back officially from FTA yet, but once we do, then our plan will be to move forward with that project. And that project won't be as cumbersome as the downtown one, so we're hoping if everything goes smooth, hopefully by early spring, midsummer next year, we'll be full bore on that. But we did complete the roundabout, which that actually was part of the transit project, and completed an ADA pathway all the ways from Cerrillos to the South Side Transit.
Excellent. Did you want to say what FTA stands for those of us that don't know?
If I could, I want to add a little bit. So it's Federal Transit Administration, and they do fund operating grants for our transit operation as well as capital grants. And Director Martinez was referring to a $5 million capital grant that we just applied for. So that'll help us cover quite a couple of bases. I did want to highlight for everybody here that downtown transit center project is going to be amazing. We're partnering with Georgia O'Keeffe, who's also doing a big construction project to tear down a warehouse. It's going to be giant plaza of walking sidewalks in that area that sort of integrate onto their property with beautiful landscaping. It is going to be a game changer. I mean, if you walk down Sheridan right now, you don't even want to walk down that road right now. Then it's going to be turned into one of the really premier blocks in downtown Santa Fe. So it's really exciting, and really appreciate Karen's diligent work of, really integrating with the Georgia O'Keeffe and making sure that we move along at the same pace that works with their project. So we're excited about that one. Thank you for asking.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that's a very important transit hub for local people and, as well as tourists, but we want to make sure that local people can get to their jobs. And so that I'm glad to hear that that's moving forward. Speaking of transit, I think keep wanting to call everyone doctor. Mr. Martinez, if you could tell us a little bit more about the transit routes, and speak more about the transit routes, and if we're back to our regular routes, or which ones we're back to and which ones we're still doing on demand. I hear concerns about on demand, not because it's not working, but people want to make sure that it's accessible and that it's efficient for us. So if you could speak a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. On demand is actually more accessible than our regular routes in its current form. And our on demand is the exact same route that it was before. They just have to be at that bus stop, and we will take them to a bus stop on any of the on-demand routes. So in a sense, it's better because if you're on the 22 and you want to go to something on the M, a lot of times we'll just take you straight from the 22 bus stop to the M bus stop and drop you off, instead of you actually having to go across town, change at the hub and jump on another bus to get there. So it's really been working very well.
If I could add something, Madam
Sorry
Chair,
about
just
that.
to be specific, the way the on-demand works is that a customer has to call transit for the ride. So they call transit for the ride and they say, I want to get picked up on this route at this stop. And then within 15 or 20 minutes, the bus picks them up. It's sort of revolutionary. It comes a little bit towards the Uber model, right? Where you want to ride, so you call them and they come and get you. That's an upside. We're really looking at possibly really building on that because it might really meet today's needs. On the other hand, there's nothing like a bus running every 15 minutes that you don't even have to think about. You just walk up to the bus stop and get on. And we realize that too. So and the reason that isn't happening is because we are definitely still at majorly decreased service levels right now. So Cerrillos Road is not running at 15 minutes like it normally does. It runs at half hour and hour increments from time to time. We just don't have enough bus drivers. A huge majority of our vacancies are there. 30 out of 50 bus driver positions are vacant. So, and in our looking at the service study, like Tomas said, in our new proposal, we're trying to combine that convenience and availability of the 15-minute cycle along with this possible on-demand point-to-point service and see how that really fits together. Councilor Villarreal, I think you're muted.
Yeah, Councilwoman
Sorry, it
Gabrielle,
keeps
you are
changing.
muted and you are getting close on time.
Okay, thank
So
you.
we can do a second pass if we.
Sounds good. I just want folks to know, I actually have to chair a community development commission meeting, so I have to leave at 3. So I have just a couple questions. One is really just looking at the vacancy rate. I think we're all worried about the vacancy rate. And then I actually counted 40 vacancies for transit. And if you could just speak a little bit more about how you're prioritizing the vacancies, considering there's so many, and that affects every single division of yours. So how are you all kind of tackling this? Because it's, pretty major and affects all of you and also your staff.
Thank you so much, Councilor Villarreal. It has been a huge pile of work that we have been undertaking over the past couple of years. Really, the whole thing started in September 2020. Over the years, the first thing I did was I focused on getting parks staffed with what they needed. It was a huge focus for the community right through COVID, the outdoor recreation and all that kind of thing, and trying to tell this parks division, you've come into public works and we are going to make a difference. You are going to be one of the Class A teams in the city. And we had to back that up with support, both in staffing as well as in a major restructure of the salaries that the governing body approved. So step by step, I think Tomas actually did get approval for a $1 increase about 2 years ago for the transit drivers. Well, that was our first bite at the apple, but it's going to take another one really to get us where we need to be. I mean, we're competing now with this, through the roof Amazon, just in time delivery world where a driver has so many options for jobs. And so what we're doing now with respect to the transit ones is Tomas is taking his team, his data, and putting their heads together to figure out what is the system that will serve the city of Santa Fe best, and then what staffing is needed for that, and then how do they need to be paid and what's the structure. So instead of just coming back and saying we've got 50 positions, 30 of which are vacant that we need to increase the pay for, we want to be a lot more sort of holistic in the approach and really take a look at what we need. The other thing that we've been doing, and I've been saying this for a couple of budget years, is that we have a 4-pronged approach to staffing the demands of our division, of our department. The first one is full-time FTEs. That's our number one most valuable way to tackle the demands. The next one is seasonal FTEs, right? That's a difficult one, but we still try to use it. Then we have professional services where you can bring in a whole team that has leadership, equipment, bonding, understanding, and you can say, get that done, and they can get it done for us. And then last tool in the toolkit that we use is temporary labor. So where we actually directly hire labor off the state price agreement and bring it on to our team for the seasonal, and that's what they use at the golf course. So we really use all 3 of those all 4 of those in a very dynamic way to meet our needs as we piece by piece by piece put in these career ladders, update job descriptions, update pay. It takes a lot of work, but we're systematically working our way through the department with the partnership of HR, of course.
Thank you. Last question. I know other people have questions about vacancies. I'm just curious, you had talked about the beginning of your presentation, the federal and state and other grants and loans that you all are taking advantage of and making sure that it fills the gaps for many of these projects and capital projects. And I'm just curious if there are any federal, state grant funding and or loans going to be delayed or compromised due to our delayed audits. And how will that affect your capital project timelines?
Thank you so much for the question, Madam Chair, Councilwoman Villarreal. Much of our funding sources, like from FAA and the Federal Transit Administration, are less focused on our audits and more focused on our compliance with their grant procedures and our compliance with our facilities. And so that's what Director Martinez and Manager Harris work really hard at every day is making sure that we stay inside the regulations of those really important partners for us. And then we get millions of dollars of support from them. So that's how we keep that piece going. Department of Transportation, their big thing is that we, execute our master transportation plan, our bicycle master plan, our pedestrian master plan, that we continue to make progress on the projects that they funded, and that we follow their procedures, which are also extremely stringent. Only PhD Ramela Glorioso Moss really could enjoy complying with all of those procedures. And so that's how we keep that relationship and those funds flowing, and there's no risk there. Sam has a couple of times come up with these historic preservation grants. One for the depot. That's how we started on the train depot project. That's how we're starting on the main library project. We have just recently applied to FEMA actually for some renewable resiliency project funds for stormwater as well as for renewable energy projects that we're working on. The state has given us the thumbs up, so it looks like we can expect some FEMA funding on that soon. None of these agencies that I've mentioned do care about the audit. I think there's been recent conversations with the New Mexico Finance Authority, and the finance director has had to see what their availability is to support us. And I think they're at the table. So, and then of course, with the annual $20 million approximately capital allocations that the governing body's been making from GRT revenue over budget, that has also been key to keeping all our capital projects on track. And we're careful to start projects that we can finish, where we can actually see the funding, coming down the pike. I think Midtown, of course, has some project funding that we'll be very excited to get when we can get to that. But for the most part, a lot of our projects on their funding and the NMED Clean Water Revolving Loan Fund for stormwater, that's actually on track now to cover us for the next couple more years. So we're in good shape in a lot of ways.
Great. Thank you so much. Madam Chair, I'll yield the floor for now. Thanks.
Thank you. And as I mentioned, and Councilwoman Villarreal mentioned, there are committee meetings this afternoon that members of the committee are parts of. That's why I'm trying to hold us all to kind of 10 minutes. I do think it's important for everyone on the committee to have the opportunity to ask questions and also hear the questions being asked by colleagues and the answers being given by staff. And this is an important segment of these budget hearings after we've heard from staff. So just want to make sure we're giving everybody an opportunity, and I'm trying to be fair here with everyone. So with that, other questions from the committee? Councilor Rivera.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tomas, with regards to the on-demand, I've had some complaints as well from constituents, and I think they used to use the bus system before COVID, and then now after they expected it to be the same, and it's not. So how are we educating current users, and then I guess tourists as well, who probably don't understand or know?
We have it on our website. All of the hotels we've been in contact with, and they understand how it works also. We do have our call center that people can call, and they'll walk them through the whole process also. One thing I am working on is doing like a radio spot to put on Que Suave to help out.
All right, when you're fully staffed, 50% vacancy rate, I understand, but when you're fully staffed, will you go back, or
Yes.
is this model working well?
Well, legally, I can't just change the transit without going to public outreach, and I still would need to come in front of you folks, I'm sure. So as we get more people, we start instituting more routes.
Okay, great, thank you. Now, it seemed like we used to purchase buses at least once a year. Could be my age. I don't remember the last time we purchased a bus. Will you help me remember that?
2019 was our last bus purchases.
All right, so
About 9 years ago, the federal government eliminated that program where there was monies. This year, I found out that they've reinstituted some programs that may work. So I'm looking into that currently to see if we can get on the tail of some of that money, so.
How's our fleet currently with maintenance?
We're actually in fairly decent shape. Our buses are supposed to last 14 years according to federal guidelines. And we're just over the 14-year with our 6 of our buses, so. If we can get on the tail of this, we can keep up.
All right, please keep us informed on that one.
Yes, and we do consistently buy vans every 2 years through the state, so that is something that does happen.
Okay. Along with that, 468,000 for transit vehicle maintenance. Again, with the aging fleet, is that sufficient?
Yeah, unless we have anything major. A couple of years ago, we had an issue where 3 engines just went down. They had some valve train issues, and in a fleet, if one does it, usually you're gonna have a couple more. But we've been able to keep on top of most everything. I have, again, an excellent maintenance crew that stays on top of stuff. And we do things like oil sample at oil changes, so we know when something's beginning to go wrong, so we can catch it before it's a catastrophe.
All right, thank you. Ms. McDonald, 445,500 for homeless encampment cleanups. Again, from what I've heard, some of these encampments are crazy messes. So is that enough money to get you through the next fiscal year for all the cleanups, I think, that are probably still remaining?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Councilor Rivera, we think that it will be enough. Our hope is that as our other homeless efforts come online, that we will have less to clean up. So our goal is to initially clean up, and then as the others come online, we're just not having as much work. So I believe it will be.
All right. And then now with the runoff and the windiest time of the season and the problems we had last year, we focusing on arroyos? Are we focusing on waterways to clean up prior to anything else?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, yes, we are. We have daily runs through the river and major arroyos. When we have indication that it's going to rain, the park ranger team goes out and aggressively tries to warn people that water's coming. We also work with contractors who are really aware of this effort. And so if they're out in the arroyos cleaning up, they also will let folks know and give them warning.
Thank you. You also, I think in your presentation, made a comment about 350,000 for temporary staffing.
That's correct. So Madam Chair, members of the committee, at the MRC, we use temporary staffing, which has worked out very well for the MRC because we have a hard time filling seasonal positions out there. We have a 9-month growing season. It's very important that we have people, trained and consistently there. So we tried to use the seasonal employees, which was set up kind of when colleges and such when they let out later and started earlier or later, the timing really worked. Right now, they get out of college around May 15th, but then they have to go back sometimes August 15th. So it really, reduced the season of where we were getting people. So that is why we're using temporary services in that location.
And are you still hiring median crews and weed crews and park crews?
Yes, Counselor, we definitely have crews there. And then we also are supplementing that because we have that 25% vacancy rate. But we're always advertising and adding people to the crews. So we have both.
The 350,000 doesn't cover all that, does it?
Oh, no. So combined, I believe it's 775. So we have 350 for the golf course and MRC, and then another 350 for parks around there.
Okay, thank you. Just one question, Mr. Burnett, how will you and your staff, I guess, integrate with the FTE position that is in economic development to assist in Midtown redevelopment? Has there been communication how you guys will work together?
Madam Chair, Councilor Rivera, yes, my team, well, especially Mr. Farrell, our property development manager, and myself participate as members of the steering committee and are familiar with the plans for the MRA and the hiring of a director for the MRA. That group will become the lead on development activities, planning and execution. My team will continue to provide, day-to-day operational support, managing the physical campus, and helping provide support in terms of capital projects as needed. So I think there's a very clear division of responsibilities, and we're excited to work with that new group.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Sam, and Madam Chair, Councilor Rivera, I'd like to add to that. That's exactly right. So we're really excited for the MRA to come in line because while this is a team of professionals dedicated with high expertise to developing civic infrastructure, we're not multi-use developers. We don't design them, we don't build them. It's not our business. And so in order for the city to be really well guided in this undertaking, we need somebody who is a developer, like who has that mind and knows how to do it. So what we're doing right now, and Sam took the lead on this, is developing 3 RFPs that we think will really set the MRA up for success, as well as start tackling some of the first pieces of the infrastructure development at the campus. The first piece is always stormwater. So we've developed the scope of work for an RFP for a combined stormwater plan for the site. That has to be first to know what every parcel needs to do with respect to stormwater and how that all works together. The other piece the other RFP is owner representative project manager, somebody who could have a critical path schedule ongoing as this 10-year project begins and goes on. And then finally, we're going to seek proposals for a raft of engineering expertise to support us in the design of all the different infrastructure as we go through the piece. So what we envision is that we're working closely with Lee from that team to put these RFPs on the street, make sure they comply with the community development plan, which has quite a few constraints on any work done at the site. And then we envision that those resources would transfer over to the management by the MRA when they're established.
Director Martinez, I forgot one more thing. Now that Folk Art's moving to the rail yard, are they still going to require transit services? Is that?
Yes.
Okay, same places, same.
Well, we'll be using South Capitol only, and we'll be dropping off right there on Ecox.
Okay. Director Wheeler, what are some of the most difficult obstacles, I guess, in hiring since you have such a high vacancy rate?
Thank you, Madam Chair, Councilor Rivera. Well, one of the obvious ones is that our engineering positions in the engineering division and now Complete Streets have been vacant for a long, long time. It's really hard to be competitive with the lab for an engineer. If you might remember for a minute, we had Javier Rosado was our engineering division director. He was great. He was a PE. He came from Puerto Rico, and they've hired him on for $30,000 more on day one with a career ladder that doubled his money in like 3 years. So I think the engineer, and that's a problem that utilities has as well. I was thinking about it this morning. I was sort of, 30 years old when I decided I was not going to work for a bomb making facility, and that public sector organizations were to get the benefits of my expertise and skills. Not everybody makes that decision. Money talks to some people. So that's a challenge, but that's not a huge number of positions either, right? We have one vacant engineer in Complete Streets now. We have the Complete Streets Division Director, which is probably competing for that kind of a person. So that's one part of the problem. Another thing that we've been working a lot on is rewriting the job descriptions. So the Transit Director of Administration position had been reclassified at that fiscal year 21. So we lost the position. That's part of why we combined
engineering and streets so that we could not only have those operational efficiencies, but it also spun off a division director that we could give back to transit, where there's millions of dollars of grant money available. There's rafts of data to be analyzing. There's customers to be communicated. There's regional partners. Tomas can't do all of that, as well as keep the buses running and operating and that kind of thing. So organizational restructuring around the positions and the job descriptions, and that takes a lot of work. I think I'd let Director Martinez talk about the challenges with hiring transit operators, since that's a huge piece, and then Director McDonald to talk about the challenge of hiring parks maintenance workers.
Yeah, the transit operators, it's just such a specialized type of job because you have to be tolerant of people, you have to be good to people, you have to like to drive. So what we've been doing is reaching out to the schools quite a bit. Of course, we do our own CDL training, and actually with the new law this year, CDL trainers had to be certified. So we have the only certified CDL trainer for the city. So we actually help all the other departments in the city train their people for CDLs. We just constantly pushing and trying to get people to realize the benefits of working for the city of Santa Fe versus working for independents. And it's slowly coming back. One of the major things that helped us was when they raised having to have your COVID shots. That seemed to get us a few more applicants. So we're slowly digging, but it's going to be a long road. But we still need to find a way to be more competitive, because that's really at the end of the day going to be the major part, because a lot of my people live in Rio Rancho. That's a 50-mile drive every day at $4 a gallon, No matter how good your car is on gas, that's a stretch and a lot of maintenance. And transit's always operated with like a 20% vacancy almost across the board, but it's never been anything like we've seen. And there's so many transportation places, like Director Wheeler said, and it's getting increasingly harder to compete.
Chair or Madam Chair, Councilor Rivera, I don't need to repeat, we need to be more competitive. However, I do feel that career ladder that we've just instituted in parks is really helping. We're getting a lot more applicants. So we're going to be promoting that more. And I think that's going to help a lot. We're going outside of standard HR practices, meaning that we're funding ads in Rio Rancho, Los Alamos, other places to try, Espanola, trying to get those folks in. And certainly the gas issue is a big one, because if you are coming from Rio Rancho and our existing employees are concerned about that, plus a wear and tear on their cars. Several of my employees have asked, can we take our vehicles home like the police do? We're very limited on vehicles right now, so I don't think that's a good idea, but that might be something that we might want to look at because of the wear and tear issue coming back and forth. And I think overall, we just really need to be flexible. I know that our teleworking policy, really promoting that also for our admin assistants. That's an entry-level position. We're already, working with people, talking about maybe we could do 30 hours a week. Maybe we could do job sharing. Maybe, we promote the teleworking opportunities. So I think that, being flexible, really meeting people where they're at, and, really making sure people understand the value of the benefits at the city is very important as we move forward.
I'm up, or do I have?
Your time is kind of up, but go ahead. One more.
I have two more, so I'll just wait till the second round. One comment and one question, actually.
Just go for it.
If you can let Samuel know at the MRC that last year we had a lot of complaints about MRC and the condition, and nothing this year. I've had people go out there and compliments about the way the course looks. So tell them great job out there. My last question, Director Oster, I think on page 106 at the bottom where it gives the vacancy rate, there's the cost of fiscal year 23 vacant or unfunded positions, and that's 30,000. That seems like a low amount even for one vacant or unfunded position.
So let's see, Madam Chair and Councilor Rivera. So we're on the bottom of page 106. And so I think that's, okay, so the cost of that are proposed to be filled in FY24. So these are positions that were frozen in FY23 that we're planning to fill in FY24. So that's the additional cost in FY24 to fill those positions that were vacant.
30,000, that's it.
They're just 3 positions, is that correct or no?
Yes, Madam Chair, it's 3 positions. Yes, and so the positions that were frozen, and Director Wheeler may be able to talk somewhat about this, they may not have been completely reduced of all of their funding. We may have just taken some funding out of them to support other hiring. So this is the amount that's needed to fill those in FY24.
Madam Chair, Director Oster, I think you must be right because $30,000 is nothing towards 3 positions. It's 2 custodians and a parking technician or 2 parking technicians. So they are entry-level positions, but that must be the case where they were funded below the minimum, but now they'll be funded above the minimum, and this is the incremental cost.
All right, so this is just to make up for what was already within the budget.
Madam Chair and Councilor Rivera, yes, that's what it looks like. Let me see if anyone from the budget team would like to add any additional detail. On the bottom of page 106, it looks like Andy stepped out of the room. We can provide you with more detail.
We can go on, and when he comes back, we can.
Okay. Yeah, we'll go back. Other questions, Councilor Cassett?
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and thank you everyone for being here. I will try to be quick and not long-winded as I am apt to do. A couple things. I'm really excited about the work with the MPO for the Chapter 14 rewrites, and really want to thank Director Wheeler and your team, and of course, Eric Ani, because as you mentioned, this is a shift from what, the city has been following the Federal Highways Administration of highways in the middle of the city. And as Director Wheeler knows, this is something I have been very excited about, and really happy to see that moving through, and really look forward to what those suggestions are and hope that we can really have those conversations throughout. Probably MPO would be a good resource or a good area to have those discussions. And also the 3 traffic calming projects. Thank you. They are all 3 in District 4, although technically one is now in District 2, but it was District 4 when we got started. So I really want to thank you for those. And I know that those neighborhoods are going to be extremely appreciative. It's been a long haul for some of them, and I know that the process takes a long time. So very happy to see all of those. Let me go down my questions as this is for parking enforcement. And so this might just be more of a comment to pass on to the new director when they get started. I've had a number of subdivisions in my district where they're having parking issues after hours. And because, it's people are gone from work, so their cars are not there. But then when they come home, 5:30, that's when the parking challenges happen. And so I'm wondering if we might be able to, if there would be a way to look at the scheduling of staff so that there are people that would be out for parking enforcement in some of these areas. I know in the past, we've done, I think, some overtime and some kind of stings in the area, if you will. But that's just something that I've really noticed happens in my district that as that new director is getting their feet on the ground and is going to look into, that I want to make sure that they're aware of, is this is one of the problems that we're seeing with parking.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Councilor Cassett. Definitely, and if you could send me each of those examples right away. The parking team actually works quite a bit of overtime right now because they staff the Sandoval Garage. When there's Lenzik events, they staff weekends and all the events. And so we will need to look at capacity for adding more activities, but I think, we'd be happy to take a look at those neighborhoods. There's also other tools we have, like neighborhood residential parking passes and those kinds of things. If people are violating the rules, But you know, we've had some real success in the neighborhoods around the rail yard with that, where if you try to park on any street, it'll say residential pass required. It's a special zone and people pretty much have given up on violating that. So we'll look at the different tools that we could help your neighbors with. So thank you so much for raising that.
Of course. And I understand that that's not something that would probably be an immediate change, but looking in the future. So thank you. I appreciate that. Transit, I'm really, again, something I'm excited to see as it comes through is those adjustments for the transit routes. I know, again, that a lot of this is going to depend on staffing. I have a couple questions. One I should know the answer to, but I would like you to remind me. Why do we have a challenge with transit to the airport on public?
It's the
transit.
distance from our current routes to the airport, and most importantly, most of the flights don't align with any time that we would be able to be there.
Okay.
As they improve the airport and they start to bring more flights in, that definitely could change. And there's a housing division proposed to be on the other side of Jaguar, right? Where they're gonna be connecting the road. And if they do that, that might be something that we can look at. That would help us make it more of a continual.
Okay, wonderful. And I do know that we do have that contract that came in through tourism, I believe, to assist people with getting there. So glad to hear that that's still on the, that everyone's still aware of this and that it'll be something to continue to look at. Because I know that that has been a comment that I've received from a number of people flying in and
Yes.
out of Santa Fe.
Madam Chair, thank you, Councilor Cassett, for bringing that up. It's been a challenge for 5 years since I've been here. And I personally had to jump in somebody's Uber because I knew I was going to get stranded at the airport if I did just force my way into, I'm like, I gotta go with you. I gotta go with you. So we've tried a bunch of times. We've contracted with privates, you know, where you can pay $40. I mean, it's better to pay $40 to get to town than just get stranded at the airport. And so I'm just kind of priming the pump a little bit. So airport manager can jump in. He might have some, you know, we have a really great opportunity here with a brand new set of eyes and expertise to help us tackle this problem of late night transportation from the airport back to town.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. So we've been working with New Mexico PRC. We've been doing, well, they've been doing sting operations to crack down on the illegal taxis that run out of the airport. They'll charge sometimes $85 to take someone to Cerrillos or downtown. So we've been cracking down. We have security in the front of the terminal that's cracking down on them. So since we started cracking down on the illegal taxis, a lot of legitimate taxis have gone out, gotten their taxi license, and they're actually operating out of the airport. So we haven't eliminated completely the stranded issue, but we've brought it down significantly. Most times around the flights, you'll see at least one taxi out there looking for a passenger.
That's great to hear. And that actually added another layer of the challenge that I was unaware of. So thank you for adding more of that context for us of kind of the different components that we have to piece together for this. Thank you so much. Staying on transit. Oh, yes.
Sorry, Madam Chair, Councilor, if I can add one thing as well. We're also going to try to reach out to Uber, Lyft nationally to see if there are ways that we can ask them to help incentivize Uber and Lyft drivers to actually make runs out to the airport right now. Because right now they're so very busy delivering food and other sorts of things, and just it's a steady in-city business. And so we're going to see if we can't find additional alternatives to get rides for people out to the airport.
Wonderful. Thank you.
James or John, will you talk about the bid that we just went through to try to find shuttle service?
Sure, absolutely. Madam Chair, Councilor Cassett, Councilor Rivera, Director Harris did attempt to find someone who would bid to provide service for the airport. And the lowest bid was about $1 million a year. And what's complicated is that right now we have roughly, what would you say, Director, 12 flights coming in a day, give or take? 9. And so we don't need 24-hour shuttle service. We need service probably 9 times a day for about an hour, hour and a half. And so it's been, that complicates the ability to do it. We've discussed, we're not in a place to act yet, but we've discussed the possibility of trying to repurpose an existing position within the airport so that some of the duties for that person or those people could be an hour before, an hour after to be available to do shuttles, to give rides, to do that sort of a thing.
And have we actually, another
Mhm.
avenue, have we looked at working with NCRTD for assistance in this area, or whether it be temporary or permanent? I know that they do have routes throughout the city of Santa Fe. I don't know if this is something they'd help with.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, I think what Manager Blair just shared is very instructive. And also what Director Martinez said, it costs a fortune to have a staff and a fleet that can serve the airport from 5:30 in the morning until 10:30 at night. It's just a really expensive and we've had people leave the city and start businesses and try. We've had limousine services try and be under contract with us. We have tried. It is not an easy thing to tackle. And I think the Uber, Lyft, somehow subsidizing some service or something that already exists and maybe our only hope at this point. I think at some point after the airport expands, we're going to have more flights, we'll have more gates, we'll have more customers, and then it might become where you could turn it over to the side. But at this point, it is just a really expensive undertaking for either a public or a private sector operation, and not sure that we've solved it. We'll have to continue trying.
I agree. And just Councilor Cassidy, I think that I'm not familiar with the acronym that you threw out. So let's talk about that after the fact. And we're happy to look into it.
That's the North Central Regional Transit
Blue.
District, the
Blue
bus.
buses.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for dumping it down for me, Madam Chair. I think, when we win the lottery in Striker Ridge, we should build a light rail system from the airport down 599 to downtown, and that'll solve the problem. But
Great, I look forward to it.
until we win Powerball, we're going to keep trying. So
Thank you.
Counselor Cassidy,
I-
as long as we're on this
Are we
issue,
pausing my time? Is everyone asking? No, just kidding. Go ahead.
trust me, you'll be fine. How big a problem is this illegal taxi thing? I mean, should we be notifying the public or having any kind of signage or warning people that, if somebody charges you $85 to go to Cerrillos Road? I mean, I guess, and maybe the public decides for themselves, but they don't have any options. So you might get stuck. I don't know. I had never heard that. That's very concerning to me. I do have a lot of family and friends who use the airport, and I was not aware of that.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. So we've all but eliminated about 99% of the illegal taxi operations out at the airport. Partly due with our partnership with PRC and our new security company, Condor Security. We're now able to fulfill our TSA requirement of having an armed security guard inside the terminal. And now we have an armed security guard outside of the terminal, and they have specific guidelines that they're looking for. They have to have a PRC number on the outside of their vehicle. If they're operating as a taxi, it has to be labeled as a taxi. They understand that our security guards, they're going to check their credentials. They're going to check their PRC numbers. If there's any issues, they call me, and then I call Vince at PRC to verify that person. We stopped soliciting inside the terminal for a ride, so taxi companies can't come in and take up all the room in the terminal trying to look for a ride. They have to stand by their vehicle or near their vehicle. The black car services, they come out. They're the only ones that is allowed in the terminal, and that's to pick up their VIP passengers and their baggage. But we created rules, and our security, they are doing an excellent job. So we've knocked it down significantly from what it was.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate the broader context. Counselor Cassett, back to you, and I'm starting your clock
Claiming
right
my
now.
time.
Oh.
All right. Staying on transit. I was glad to hear more about the downtown transit center. I'd like to jump to the South Side Transit Center. Where is this located, and is the same focus on aesthetics and kind of comfort of being there being placed on the South Side Transit Center as is happening downtown?
Yes, it's right across the street from the police department on Camino Entrada.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay. And then same design factors really being thought about. I mean, obviously different because it's not the O'Keefe Museum, but are we partnering? Are we working with, arts and culture?
It's actually already been designed, but it's a very welcoming design. It'll have 6 different bus bays. It'll be one way, a small parking lot in the back. It's gonna have bathrooms in it. There's gonna be a waiting area. It's very well designed.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. I saw something in here about a capital improvements dashboard, which sounds like something that would be interesting and fun for me to know where it is and to be able to tell my constituents about it.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, Councilor Cassett, for that question. It actually does exist. If you Google City of Santa Fe Capital Projects Dashboard, it'll probably bring you right to it. It's not as nice as we had hoped. It's not as accessible. What you'll find there is really great things. If you click on the right buttons, you'll find out the total amount of capital that's in progress working for the city. And I think it's like $212 million right now. You can find out the status of the projects. Are they in planning? Are they in design? Are they in construction? Are they completed? You can see where they are because there's a little representation on a GIS map. But there, I don't know if you remember some of the great dashboards that came out during COVID that the state had or the DOT has for like their roadways. We want ours to be more like that. So I've been talking to some service providers to make it a little bit better. And then also to make it easier for the project managers to update it periodically, because right now the back end is not very user friendly. So we have our first representation of it and we hope to make it better this year.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you. I'm glad that it's there and thanks for that focus on continuing to improve. We do have to start somewhere, but I look forward to exploring that. And I think that actually will be something that my constituents like, and also that I can point them to instead of when they ask me for an update and then I have to go find it. So thank you. I appreciate that. Parks, first of all, Melissa, thank you. I mean, just working with you the past couple of years on park projects has really just been incredible. I really appreciate it. I know we've had some challenging and important projects within my district, and I really just want to thank you for all of your work and your innovation and looking at how we bring different funding in and all these different pieces. So wanted to tell you that. The Herb Martinez Court paint peeling, just for any members of the public who might be listening, this is a common question I'm getting these days. So if you could provide an update on getting that fixed. It is under warranty. How will we prevent this from happening again? Those types of questions.
Madam Chair, councilors, yes, that is covered under warranty. There's nothing structurally wrong with the courts. We were wanting to have the courts ready as soon as possible. And I believe it was from cold. It just didn't cure properly, but we have it scheduled in the next couple of weeks or within the next month or so to be repatched up. So
thank you. I appreciate that a lot. And then in terms of sports fields, this has been, kind of a common question of where we have sports fields. And sometimes I'll, for example, the other day, somebody wrote to me and said, none of the soccer fields at Alto Park are being utilized. And then I ran right past it on the river trail and saw 3 different games going. So have we done an assessment of all the sports fields within the community, where they are in terms of their quality, how usable they are, how much they're being utilized? I would imagine that this is there. And is there a plan for, as you mentioned, Regal, we're getting the update. We've talked about expanding Soccer Valley at MRC and asked for dollars from the legislature for that. We've talked about the Salvador Perez turf, and that's something that we are eventually looking at. Is that something that has already been done? Do you have any information on next steps over the next few years in this arena?
Madam Chair, councilors, we have not pursued that at the moment. It's an excellent idea, and I will bring it back to our operations manager and we can talk about that, and Scott and I can talk about that. At this point, we're doing a time study and a number of other things where we're looking at maintenance needs and that type of work. But that's an excellent opportunity to do that. We have done it with the trails, and that might be the next one that we do.
Wonderful. Thank you. And then my last question, I believe, is either Sam or Regina. So do you have a minute? Got a second? You,
Sorry.
in one, no problem. Well, Sam stepped out. This might have actually been a question for him, but there is in the highlights that we've activated 1.5 megawatts of solar electricity. Unfortunately, I don't speak in megawatts. So can you put that into context for me and what that really means in terms of, it's more complicated of a question than I thought it
Thank you,
was.
Madam Chair, and Counselor Casa for bringing that up. That's actually my project, so I'm happy to answer it for you. And mine and Karen Gross's, we've partnered from day one on this super complex monster of a project. What it actually means, well, maybe this is a way to put it in context. Well, Buckman Direct Diversion, right, which is that water energy nexus where you have to pump the water out of the river and then you have to pump it into town and you have to run it through the basins and all of that takes energy. Probably needs about 10 megawatts to run the whole operation, all the pumps and all the thing. And we're adding another megawatt to that facility. So now they'll have 3.5, which is a lot. You know, a hospital probably takes 12 or 15 megawatts. It's 6 acres of solar panels. What someone would get on their house would be more like 4 kilowatts. And so that's like 1,000 times less. So if that's any context. In this project has installed arrays that provide electricity to a number of city facilities and up to 80% of their usage. So like the one at the Southside Library provides 80% of the Southside libraries. We've got one at the Alto Street, which is powering, I think, 2 facilities there. 80% of their energy is from renewable energy. So maybe that's a little bit of context. It's a lot.
Yeah, it sounds like something that I'm going to need to do some research and learn about megawatts. So, which is great. I had to learn about kelvins from a previous project in public works. So it's really, I'm glad that I'm expanding my knowledge. So thank you so much for that. I don't think I have any other questions at the moment. Again, thank you to everybody who's here. Thank you to all of your teams. This is really important work. As you said, you have that trifecta of things that really impact the public. I know that you often are the ones that are receiving those work order requests. I really do appreciate all the work that you all put into working on the community. So thank you so much.
Thank you for your support, Counselor.
All right, we're going to go to Counselor Lindell, but did we have an answer to Counselor Rivera's question? Is that?
Madam Chair, Counselor Rivera, we do. It was an error. They are going to continue to be vacant. So they will not be filled this year. There wasn't a request.
So that monetary
Yeah.
amount will be 0?
Yes.
And the position amount of 3 will be also 0?
The vacancy will continue to be 3. Or
Okay.
The
Okay.
the frozen positions will continue to be 3.
Okay, thank you.
0 that are coming to fruition for 24.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Counselor Lindell.
Thank you, Chair. I'm in a room with all my friends. Just a couple of quick questions and some comments. On the page 100 in the book, we got $1,160,000 in debt service for parking. Parking's, I know, supposed to be an enterprise. How are we doing with keeping up with our debt?
Let's see, I'll attempt to answer some of that, Madam Chair, Counselor Lindell. That is debt service on the garages, right? Rail yard and convention center. I believe and hope, and we've asked many times to split the convention center debt service with tourism, but they don't really like to share that. So it'd be great to make sure of that. Our revenue in parking runs around 6 million a year. So, you know, it's close to 20% of the budget for that debt service. And you know, I think we're doing okay. We definitely own that enterprise fund has to fund its own capital improvements, right? And then pay debt service on it. And you kind of see some of the capital situation out there in the facilities. So we may need to say, for instance, fund some capital improvements to the garages through the GRT bond when we get to it. And that way we'll be able to, you know, get the conditions in the parking operation as we need them while we're still covering a significant debt for the parking garages.
Okay, thank you. Most of my questions have been answered. On the 195,000 for school crossing guards, what's our agreement with Santa Fe Public Schools on that? Do you know? If you don't, it's okay.
Madam Chair, Counselor Lindell, it does predate me, and all I know is that we have one and it's not expired yet. And we pay them to provide the school crossing guards across the town. I could get you more information on that.
You don't need to. What's our budget for approximate for crack seal budget? Got any idea? If you don't, it's okay. I'm just curious.
I don't off the top of my head.
Okay, that's all right.
But I would like to add, so it's a brand new program. We just purchased the equipment, and we just bought a truckload of the supplies. What do you think that investment was?
That investment was about $90,000.
For the equipment and the truckload of the stuff. So it looks like it might, and so it's going to be the staff labor time, right? That's the big expense. And we'll definitely be looking at that over the next year, but it should be a big return on investment. And we're likely actually to come to the council after we demonstrate some efficacy with that program to expand both the equipment and the staff to work on that to preserve our pavement.
Yeah, I'll be very curious to hear if we feel like that program's as good as what it's advertised as.
It will be.
Good. Oh, man, I love that. I'm all in on that.
It's eliminating us hiring a contractor to do it.
And I know
And
those
it allows us
contractors
the
are,
ability to do it year round. Because
Good.
in New Mexico, we can have a good day in the middle of the winter where we can actually do it. And the cost is significantly less. If I had to throw a number at it for this coming year, I will say probably about 150,000. And that will be us slowing down a little bit because we'll run out of money.
well, that's great. I want to call when the weed control steam machine starts in. I want to be a part of that. I want to be out there. I want to see how that thing works.
You've been invited to the demo. I believe it's to the demo. I believe it's May 15th. Is that right? I just put it in my calendar. We'll get the information.
Will you resend it? Cause I'm all in for that.
It's May 15th at 2:30 at Regal.
Oh, that's
A demo.
great. Next thing I've got is facilities division and actually for the entire department. I've been here for a few years and we have never, ever had as good a project management as we have right now, all the way across the department. I can't thank you enough. It used to be such a constant source of deep frustration. And you guys guys and gals have totally turned it around. It's a whole different thing. And I'm really appreciative to each one of you that puts any fingerprints on these projects. It's a big deal. We covered on call with garages. Melissa, we have a lot of conversations and to me, every one of them's good. Absolutely, every one of them's good. I love working with you. It's a pleasure. And I hope you find this job rewarding because you made a difference in a tremendous number of people's lives. Thank you very much. Streets. No one likes riding snowplows better than I do. And we had an opportunity this year. I hope everybody will take an opportunity to take a ride on those snowplows. It is there's no better ticket at Disney than getting on those snowplows.
I didn't realize this was an option. Can I bring my child?
Oof. I don't know the answer to that, but I like climbing onto those snow plows and taking a ride up in Sierra del Norte. It's quite thrilling. So project management, parks, transport, I have so much interaction with you guys all the time. And really and truly, it's always good. I learn stuff from you all the time. I think this department is operating the best certainly I've ever seen, and more than I could have ever hoped for. Director Wheeler, your cheerfulness when you answer the phone is inspiring. On days that I feel like kicking the dog, I think of you sometimes and go, answer the phone and sound cheerful. Because that's what you always do, and it doesn't go unnoticed. So thank you to every person in this room, how you do this. I'm so, I really don't have budget questions. Your budget's reasonable. You come to us with reasonable requests, and you make a lot of money go a longer way than what we typically have in the past. So I'm really very grateful to you. Thank you. That's all I have, Chair.
You are under time, Counselor. Good job. Because we're running out of time as I look at the clock. Just a couple of things from me. Thank you to everybody on the committee for all your questions. I think we covered a lot of ground, and I think very interesting. Every member has something to offer in the things they focus on. I do want to flag the completion of Regal Park's artificial turf for the baseball field. In the book, it says on page 103, that's enabling a reduction in water use by 2.2 million gallons. So that's pretty cool. I was at the Little League opening day last weekend. Clearly, we have enthusiastic program with the Little League, and the fact that we're investing in them in the community, and that we're also going to save water, a kind of multi-pronged thing, and Regal Park's in District 2, so kind of like that too. Want to ask you, Melissa, about my favorite project, Tree Smart. What's in the budget for that? And I know, and maybe take the opportunity to flag the Arbor Day event and what we're doing with trees on Arbor Day.
Madam Chair, council members, we have, sorry, I'm doing it again. My aura. Isn't that so, Santa Fe? Anyway, we are going to have an Arbor Day celebration on April 28th from 11 to 1 at the GCC, the Genevieve Chavez Center. And we are giving out 200 trees, and they're not going to be the little whip trees. They're going to be 1 gallon trees, and they're pretty big. And we hope that everybody will come and take one home and plant it. We're going to have an opportunity for you to take a picture of you with your tree or just your tree, and you can send that back in, and we're going to have some prizes. So there's added incentive to plant the tree because we want everybody to take care of those trees. So thanks for asking that question. In our budget, in the quality of life line item, we have put in $100,000. There are more areas in our budget where we are speccing in trees. That would be just for pruning and planting the 100,000 that we have there.
Okay. Just want to make sure that we're continuing to, focus on that a little bit. I think it's, as we know, important work as we move into dealing and living with climate change. The park signs you mentioned, they're faded, they're getting refurbished. Are we doing anything about, it's funny, I have started to notice them over the last, I don't know, couple of years. They're all different. Do we have any plans for consistent branding and consistent signage, or is it just, different vintage parks have different look? I don't know.
Madam Chair, members of the committee. Yes, we have that problem with benches too. We are trying to standardize the look. Hopefully it'll stay standardized. We are creating specifications for land use as well. So part of it is that when you, it's different administrations have different signs. And so we're trying to standardize it. We are creating these specs for land use. So when a developer builds a park and turns it over, they have to use the specifications that we have. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it would be good that when you looked at a sign, you recognized it as a city park, right? And not have to like read the sign over a couple times to know, is it a city park? Is it not a city park? What is this thing? So I just noticed they're different everywhere you go. So just a quick question. My other question has to do with signal timing. This is my new pet peeve, and traffic lights. We are, I think you mentioned, we are refurbishing. I saw one thing for signal timing on Cerritos. I know, Director, we've talked about the signal timing over there on St. Francis and near the rail station, Kiss and Cry area. Forget what's the cross street. Zia, thank you. And I get a lot of complaints, bikers and stuff, and I think we're doing something there. I don't know. Can you just speak to that a little bit?
I can. Thank you so much for the question, Madam Chair. So our new traffic engineer, Jean Wolfenbarger, came up to Santa Fe almost for the first time when she started working for us almost a year ago. And she had a list of, you guys got to fix this really fast. And so we, with your support, instantly implemented the program to add battery backup, to upgrade our signal controller cabinets. And now we're adding Wi-Fi to those, so they're remote controllable. So this is our technology out there on our signals is really antiquated, and it's moving fast to get it in better condition. Another piece of the puzzle is our signal timing studies, which we just completed one on St. Francis. We found out what the problem is with the Zia intersection, and I've been dying to give you guys an update on this. It ends up that the train doesn't clear the road enough and keeps the gate closed while it's in the station. It's really unfortunate. So that adds, so now Jean has been timing it on a regular basis. It keeps the gates down for about 2 minutes, which is a full cycle of the signal. The other problem is that the recovery cycle of the signal let St. Francis go first. We've just programmed the controller to recover by letting Zia go first. And we're also programming in that left turn off of Zia is going to get some priority, because that's where you could really get stuck for a while. So it was a huge problem at that intersection. We did the study. We found some problems. We've been collaborating with Rail Runner to try to keep them at a minimum on that stop, because there's not that many people there. The quicker they get out of that station, the quicker the gates can come up. If you think about it, there's 150 people on the train and there's 5,000 people in that intersection they're holding up. So you really got to balance that out. So we're really excited. They're about halfway through programming the controllers. We're just doing some confirmation, because it is a pretty complex programming on that one, and it should be deployed within the next few weeks and really see some differences. And Cerritos is, I have the same, now that I know that we have a problem, it's like, oh my God, we have a problem. The Cerritos Road will be next. And what that's going to really help us with is if we can make Cerritos Road more efficient and effective, so you get on there and you hit green lights instead of every red light, then that'll keep the traffic off of Agua Fria, which right now is really burdened because of the closure of West Alameda. So we'll be moving towards that fast. So there's a lot of really great things. We've got money in the past budget, fiscal year 23 governing body approved. There's money in fiscal year 24. And then there's also grant money on top of that we're applying for, that hopefully by the end of next year, end of fiscal year 24, we'll have the upgrade done.
And so the battery backup on the signals, so every time it rains, the same intersections in this downtown area, the traffic lights go out. That's because we don't have backup, I'm guessing.
It's partly that there's two things going on. That's one of them, but also those really old, those signals at those old intersections. There's two of them. The wiring underground is brittle. It's been attacked by salt and water. We did get a quote from McDade Woodcock, which is the big electrical firm that could do a big job like that. It's $100,000 per signal to replace all the lines, but we do have a quote. We do, we're keeping an eye on it. Like, is the battery backup going to be enough to get it, or do we really need to replace all the? In fact, that's what's happened to the rail runner gates. They've been having so much trouble. Same problem. Water and salt has gotten down underneath the surface into the electrical wires, and they need to do a full replacement. So we'll be watching that and then funding that repair.
Okay. And I guess, the signals affect not only the traffic, but also pedestrians. It's really interesting. When you go to other cities, and especially when there are more people, and I don't know if it's the awareness of the pedestrians are just not good at like paying attention to whether it's a walk sign or not a walk sign. But if you're in a car and there are pedestrians, I swear it's very scary, because you don't know what the pedestrians are going to do. And they often walk even when it says don't walk. And I don't know if that's because our signals don't, cue, and so people just ignore them, or whether we, need to train our pedestrians or what. But it seems unsafe. And I know we do have trouble with pedestrian safety. So I don't know, maybe that's an MPO issue or something.
Thank you for that feedback. I'll definitely talk to Jean about that. I think I've noticed the same thing, that sometimes it seems like the light changes to let this traffic go, but then the walkers don't get the go ahead, and they should. And maybe what we have is sort of like an only on demand walker signal, but we should just always give it a walker signal.
Yeah.
So I'll check into that.
And it's just, I just had this experience driving to City Hall, I think this week. And, it was a group, it was a family, and it's just so unsettling because it's so unpredictable. And, I don't want to run over somebody's kid. That wouldn't be good. So, all right. With that, I believe my time is probably up. And other questions from the committee? Councilor Rivera.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So those three positions, now that we found out that it was a typo, how does that affect you guys? I think you said a couple custodians or.
Madam Chair, Councilor Rivera, actually, it's 2 parking technicians and 1 custodian. And I was actually going to try to send a message to finance that said, we just don't really need to unfreeze those, because all we would do is use it for money to fund other positions for sure, which would be great too. But yeah, it's fine.
Right. And I think in years past, we had asked about an additional position or like an assistant to help with Barbara Lopez and planning all the major events. I know she's probably close to retirement. And
Madam Chair, Councilor Rivera, I am happy to say that is going to be advertising soon, and we're excited about it. We would have liked to have that advertised a little bit sooner, but it's the next one out the gate, and Barbara's excited, and she's going to be helping us hire that position.
yeah, thank you. And then just one last question on the signal timing. Once an Opticom switches a light, how long does it take the sequence to catch up?
I'm sorry, Councilor Rivera. I don't think I understand the question.
What's an Opticon?
Maybe that would help.
So each light, each traffic signal has a receiver on it that the fire department, when they're running with lights and siren, change the light to green.
I'm not sure that preemption is actually working, but we are looking at increasing the preemption capacity on our priority 1 roadways, emergency response roadways.
I believe that Opticom's pretty much on every major street light in the city.
Huh.
So they have the ability to change the sequence, I think. And for good cause, you don't want an accident to happen, but I'm just curious how long the sequence or how long the lights take to get them back into a regular, normal state.
I'll get you that information.
Okay.
And I'll learn something really good and new too.
I had asked John Romero a couple of years ago and he gave me, it was a pretty high number, but Now with the upgrades that we've done, just wondering if that time has come down or not.
Thank you.
That was all, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay, other questions from the committee? Is there a motion?
I will move to preliminary approve the Public Works budget.
We have a motion and a second. If we don't have any more discussion, can we get a roll call, please?
Certainly, Madam Chair, Counselor Cassett,
Yes.
Counselor Lindell.
Yes.
Counselor Rivera.
Yes.
Counselor Villarreal is no longer on Zoom.
Right, she had another meeting that I believe started at 3:30. I was trying to get us finished before she had to leave, but
Counselor Romero Worth.
I need to vote first. Yeah, me. Yes, I vote yes. Thank you.
Madam Chair, the
Counselor.
motion passes.
One more comment. Thank you, Chair.
All right, we're all a little slap happy. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for the excellent information presentation. We'll continuing marching through the city's departments, and we'll be doing final approval of the budget next week. So we are adjourned.